Chapter 2199 Emperor Absolute Pill. Hearing this, Sha Sheng smiled and said, "The few of us don't need it." Yang Kai said in amazement, "What do you mean?" Sha Sheng said, "Brother Yang, do you want the spirit fruit?" What he was referring to was naturally the calamity fruit. Yang Kai entered the Four Seasons land in order to find the calamity fruit. This is not a secret in Qingyang Temple. Because before departure, Gao Shueding told everyone, if anyone gets the fruit of disaster, remember to stay. Yang Kai is looking for it, and he can exchange it with him at that time. With Gao Shueding's instructions, and Yang Kai's emphasis on letting everyone take out the harvest in the Four Seasons land before the transaction, Sha Sheng naturally understood what he was looking for. Unfortunately, judging from the current situation, Yang Kai did not get his wish. Not bad. Yang Kai didn't deny it, and nodded slightly. The few of us don't have any, so we won't join in the fun. Sha Sheng smiled. Furthermore, if we really exchange with you, I'm afraid you will be too embarrassed to refuse, and then the deal will be changed. It smells. Well, Brother Yang, you should ask if there is any impermanence. Among the people staying here, except for Sha Sheng and others, Wuchang is the only one left. Hearing this, Wuchang also took the initiative to stand up, looked at Yang Kai and said, "What spiritual fruit do you want?" Yang Kai pondered for a moment, decided to tell the truth, and said, "Calamity is hard to come by." 9. www. Wuchang frowned and said, "I haven't seen it before. Even you don't have any." Yang Kai couldn't help showing a disappointed expression. Up to now, he doesn't know whether the fruit of disaster in the Winter Realm was taken away and where it was taken. See, it seems that the main purpose of the trip to the Four Seasons this time is that there is no way to achieve it. Yang Kai suddenly had one head and two big ones. "Although I don't have what you want, I still want to make this deal with you," Wuchang said in a deep voice. "It's impossible for you to take that great wonder pill out." "Of course not." Yang Kai restrained his mind, grinned, and said, "Brother Wuchang wants to make this deal, it's not impossible, but I don't know what you can come up with." This. Wuchang took out a jade bottle while speaking, throwing towards Yang Kai. He didn't seem to be worried at all about Yang Kai taking his own things and running away. He trusted him so much that he threw the exchange items over. Seeing this, Yang Kai was stunned, and quickly dispersed the space law that had been lingering around him, grabbed the jade bottle in his hand, and glanced at impermanence suspiciously. "Open it and have a look, and you will know it naturally," Wuchang said lightly. Yang Kai opened the bottle, and took a look inside. Immediately, his face changed slightly, and he shouted in a low voice, "Brother Wuchang is so bold." Impermanence sneered and said, "Sooner or later I will be promoted to Emperor Senior Realm. This thing is dispensable to me, but now you are only at the first level of Daoyuan, and it is still too early to be promoted to the throne. This thing will have a great effect on you, the key always save your life." Brother Wuchang is right. As Yang Kai spoke, he had already covered the jade bottle. Sha Sheng and the others were confused. I don't know what impermanence handed over to Yang Kai, which moved Yang Kai so much. It was Murong Xiaoxiao. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something, and whispered, "Could it be that?" "Which one?" Sha Sheng's fire of gossip ignited and asked Murong Xiaoxiao in a low voice. Xiao Bai also showed an expression of interest, and listened intently. Murong Xiaoxiao read in a low voice, "Diju pill." Hiss. Sha Sheng gasped, "Impermanence, the bastard actually has this thing." While speaking, there was another expression of fear on his face. Cold sweat dripped down his forehead. If this guy sacrificed the Emperor Ju pill before, wouldn't I be dead? The Diju pill is a full blow that seals the Emperor prestige realm. Although Sha Sheng is powerful, he is not confident that he can take such a blow, and he will either die or be injured. After speaking, he was puzzled again and said, "No, Xiao, how did you know that Wuchang has the Emperor Ju pill in his hand?" Before Murong Xiaoxiao could speak, Xiao Bai continued, "Because Wuchang got the Dewey pill, Xiao was beside me." Sha Sheng's complexion changed slightly when he heard the words, and he said in a low voice, "Could it be that this Dewey pill was obtained by Wuchang in the land of Four Seasons?" Murong Xiaoxiao nodded and said, "Didn't I tell you before that Brother Xiao and I entered the Temple of Time? It was there, and at the end, Wuchang got the Emperor Ju pill." "Are there any other treasures?" Sha Sheng asked with great interest. "What did you get?" "I got a drop of Tai Shenshui." Murong Xiaoxiao pursed her lips and smiled, "It's also thanks to Junior Brother Yang. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be able to get out of it." As for the others, Princess Lan Xuan took it away. A fake emperor's treasure, that Gong Wenshan got a copy of the emperor's rhyme. Heaven is jealous of talents. Sha Sheng looked up to the sky with grief and indignation. Why didn't I meet such an opportunity? Xiao Bai squinted at him and said, HMPH, you are the one who proposed to explore the realm of spring, and you also said that there is a beautiful wind and sunshine, a collection of flowers and the fragrance of birds and flowers. It's all right if I'm wrong. Sha Sheng drooped his head, looking dejected, but immediately became fierce again, and said, no, you said that Yang Kai helped you get Tai Shenshui, then as for himself, didn't he take anything? Junior brother Yang seems to have gotten a red bead. Murong Xiao Xiao replied, but we don't know what the bead is for, and even Princess Lan Xuan can't tell. Red beads. Sha Sheng frowned upon hearing this. And while the few people were talking, Wuchang over there urged impatiently, are you satisfied with this thing? Yang Kai held the jade bottle containing the Emperor Ju pill, grinning and said, it's true, this thing is really precious, it's a life-saving trump card, it makes me very tempted. After all, it is the Emperor Ju pill. Although Yang Kai is now strong and proficient in the laws of space, his cultivation base is still low. In this star world, there are many masters, and there are dangers everywhere. Maybe he will encounter an unmatched opponent at any time. At that time, Emperor Ju pill can also become a kind of guarantee. How can Yang Kai not be tempted? This thing is probably one of the most valuable items in the entire land of 4 seasons, and even the piece of Emperor Yun that Gong Wenshan got can't compare with it. Emperor Yun is only used to refine emperor treasures, and Yang Kai has several god treasures in his hand. The effect of Emperor Yun on him is almost equal to 0. Is there any other conditions? Wuchang frowned, and heard Yang Kai's voice, and said, let's listen, if it's not too much, I can accept it. Brother Wuchang is refreshing enough. Yang Kai laughed loudly. In fact, he was like Wuchang Luo Yuan. Aside from their temperament and temper, it is actually very pleasant to cooperate with them, because talking and communicating with them will not be too tiring, and they know how to read words and expressions and speculate on other people's thoughts. Yang Kai Dao. This thing is certainly precious, but Brother Wuchang also knows that this thing is just a consumable, once used it's gone. Less talk less and nothing more, I naturally know its advantages and disadvantages. Just open your mouth and ask for your conditions. Wuchang interrupted Yang Kai without waiting for him to finish speaking, and directly stopped Yang Kai from sitting on the ground. Starting price thoughts. Yang Kai touched his nose embarrassingly. Brother Yang, if you don't mind, Sha has a proposal. Sha Sheng suddenly interjected at this moment. What the hell are you trying to do? Wuchang looked at him unhappily. Sha Sheng said innocently, I just made a suggestion to Brother Yang, it's his business whether he listens or not, and I'm also to blame for that. Yang Kai smiled slightly and said, Brother Sha has something to say, but it's okay to say it. Sha Sheng nodded, staring at Wuchang with burning eyes, he said, Brother Wuchang seems to have obtained a lot of star seals in the land of 4 seasons this time. Brother Yang can. Speaking of this, Yang Kai showed a sudden look, and immediately understood what Sha Sheng meant. Impermanence frowned. Sha Sheng said, before coming here, Elder Gao once said that all disciples who have obtained extra star seals can get rewards from the sect after they turn in. The more you turn in, the greater the reward. Although Brother Yang is not a disciple of my temple, but this sentence also applies, if you can get more star seals, you might as well put forward your request to the temple. Ask the hall master and the elders to help you find the fruit of disaster. Hearing this, Yang Kai's eyes lit up, secretly thinking that this is a good idea. This time around in the land of 4 seasons, he failed to complete the expected task, but he couldn't go back to Fenggalan City to deal with Qin Chaoyang. If he could invite the high-level officials of Qingyang Temple, he might not be hopeless. In a word, Yang was moved. HMPH. Wuchang snorted coldly, what? Want to use this method to reduce the quota of my Wuhua Hall entering the Sea of Broken Stars? Brother Sha is so unconfident about his sect. No and no, Sha Sheng said with a smile, I was just thinking for Brother Yang, not as you said. It doesn't matter. I don't care whether other people in Wuhua Palace can enter the Sea of Broken Stars, as long as I can enter myself. Oh, Sha Sheng raised his brows and said, Brother Wuchang is implying that he only needs to leave a star seal for you. That depends on what he means. Wuchang turned his gaze to Yang Kai. Yang Kai Dao. Let me ask first, Brother Wuchang, how many star seals did you get this time? 5, a lot, Yang Kai exclaimed, and continued. Well, since Brother Wuchang is so sincere, then Yang will make this deal with you, but I still have one question. Say, Wuchang said concisely, how do you give me your star seal? It's not enough to use the secret technique to transfer it. Wuchang replied as a matter of course. Yang Kai had a black thread on his head, and said, then when I saw you outside the Temple of Time, why did you cut off my arm? Do you understand this secret technique? Wuchang asked disdainfully. I don't understand. Yang Kai replied honestly. Then I'll be beheaded. Wuchang snorted coldly. It makes sense, I'm speechless. Yang Kai was in a cold sweat. Stop talking nonsense and complete the transaction first. While speaking, he had already swayed, and rushed directly in front of Yang Kai, pinched the spirit art in his hand, and rolled with source force. P.S. Recommend a friend's book, it's a transformation text, interested book friends can go and read it. Title, The Scarlet Crown. ISBN, 3467223. Introduction. After 1,000 years of summoning, an accident occurred. The soul resided in the body of the summoner, and the heroic spirits of the ancient generation were reborn in a special way. To my shock, this summoner turned out to be the Princess of Melkia, a kingdom on the brink of destruction. Bearing the wish of the princess, the hero who emerged from the glorious years once again raised the banner of dawn, bringing a new dawn to this crumbling country. And war, dreams and adventures, witches dancing in the dark forest, galloping and wolves on the earth, the towering tower of Babylon, the labyrinth city favored by the gods, the never-ending hymn in the ruins of the ancient city, sleeping in ideals. The eyes of the king of the village opened again. Whether the twins of fate continue the tragedy of thousands of years ago. The ever-extending road in the brilliance of Ying and Huo is a new track and a record of the times. ... Opening parenthesis closing parenthesis. Chapter 2200. The Unnamed Valley. The scenery is still extremely depressed. The spiritual energy is exhausted. The oval light gate stands straight in midair. From time to time, warriors come out of it, or smile. It can be seen that they have gained a lot in the land of 4 seasons, or they are dejected, seems to be very dissatisfied with his harvest. No matter what their previous expressions were, the moment they stepped through the light door of the exit, everyone's face changed drastically, their whole body was cold, and cold sweat dripped down their foreheads. No one else, because at this moment, there are a total of 6 Emperor Senior Realm powerhouses, lined up, staring at the exit one by one, and whenever someone walks out of it, the 6 divine senses belonging to the Emperor Senior Realm will be brushed together. Brushed to cover the past. Who can withstand such pressure? Fortunately, the 6 emperors didn't mean to hurt others, they were just investigating, so the pressure came and went quickly, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Many people don't know what the 6 powerhouses are doing, and immediately dodge aside in desperation after leaving the exit, but those with exquisite thoughts have already guessed why they put on such a posture and guarded the exit at. Just like that, the 6 Emperor Senior Realm stared at the exit without moving their eyes for a long time. At a certain moment, a figure flashed out of the light gate that had been silent for a long time. The 6 emperors immediately cast their gazes over. The figure seemed to be caught off guard, but the reaction was extremely fast, and he activated his source power and spiritual power in an instant to resist the huge pressure, but the next moment, he frowned, showing a puzzled expression, because he discovered that the pressure from the front was actually the elders of the various sects. Okay. Feng Ming from the Wuhua Palace looked at Wuchang coming out of the 4 Seasons land, and kept chanting a good word, with a smile on his face, and said, Wuchang, go aside. Wuchang heard the words, a thoughtful look flashed in his eyes, he walked to the side and stood still. Immediately following Wuchang were 3 figures, and they were Sha Sheng and the others from Qingyang Temple. As soon as you appeared, Sha Sheng said profusely with sweat, my lords. What are you doing? Shouldn't you welcome me and wait? How can you guys? If you keep talking, I will throw you back. Xiao Yuyang snorted coldly. Sha Sheng shrunk his neck, didn't dare to make a sound, and rushed to the side with Xiao Bai and Marong Xiao Xiao. After the 3 came out, it took about 10 breaths before Yang Kai's figure emerged from the exit. Gao Shueding couldn't help but let out a soft breath, and said in a low voice, it's finally come out. Is this the kid? Xiao Yuyang turned to Gao Shueding and asked. Gao Shueding nodded slightly. Very good. Xiao Yuyang laughed loudly. Seat Lao has been waiting for so long, I want to see if this kid has 3 heads and 6 arms. While speaking, he opened his hand and covered Yang Kai directly. Before Yang Kai could gain a firm foothold, he felt a huge force of restraint descending on his head. The force was so strong that he couldn't resist at all. Pulled directly in front of Xiao Yuyang. What's the situation? Yang Kai shouted, his expression shocked. He thought he was attacked by someone. And looking up, the 6 emperor-level powerhouses in front of him were all staring at him with burning eyes, like 6 perverts looking at a girl who took off her clothes. Even Gao Shueding is no exception. These 6 people, Yang Kai knows all of them, needless to say Gao Shueding and Xiao Yuyang, the other 4 people have also seen in Fenggalan City. Yang Kai just pondered for a while, and he understood what was going on in the situation in front of him. Although he was prepared in his heart, but at this moment, he still couldn't help feeling a little powerless. What are you doing? What are you doing? Yang Kai yelled. Don't be afraid, it won't hurt you. Gao Shueding comforted her. Speak well if you have something to say, a gentleman speaks but doesn't act, it's better to settle enemies than tie them up, 30 years in Hedong and 30 years in Hexi, don't bully the young and poor. Yang Kai chattered endlessly. The brat is noisy. Xiao Yuyang snorted coldly, and grabbed Yang Kai with his hands. Before Yang Kai could react, the space ring in his hand was taken away by him. Steal something? Yang Kai was startled at the time, staring at Xiao Yuyang, said, bullying the weak, using the big to bully the small, is there any law? Xiao Yuyang's spiritual sense shuttled around Yang Kai's space ring, but it didn't affect the operation of his mind. He just uttered a disdainful tone with his nasal cavity, which made Yang Kai's momentum a lot shorter. He sneered said, Wang Fa. Here, this seat is Wang Fa. Do you have an opinion? My lord, if you think so. Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said helplessly, then I can't help it. Very good. After Xiao Yuyang finished speaking, he ignored Yang Kai and focused on investigating. After a while, he frowned and threw the ring on his hand to Feng Ming beside him. Feng Ming took it, and started investigating in the same way. At this time, Xiao Yuyang cast his eyes on Yang Kai again. His eyes were unfathomable, like the abyss of the devil, making people shudder, and he didn't have the courage to look at him at all. He seemed to want to look into the depths of Yang Kai's heart, go unearth the secrets hidden in his heart. Yang Kai felt uncomfortable being stared at by him, as if hundreds of millions of ants had been drilled into his body. It was extremely itchy. But fortunately, he had seen the aura of a strong 3rd-level emperor, and had fought against 3 first-level emperors, so Xiao Yuyang's desire to suppress his will with his eyes alone was a little too much. Of course, it's not his fault, the General Daoyuan 1st level is stared at by him so much, how can he think about it? I have been confused for a long time, and I didn't answer what I asked. But Yang Kai has seen big wind and big waves. Boy, I see that you are a smart person. You should know that I am waiting here. What is the matter? Xiao Yuyang asked directly without beating around the bush. A little guessing. Yang Kai couldn't pretend to be stupid, he could only say this, and after he finished speaking, he looked at Xiao Yuyang timidly, and said, is it because of that wonderful pill? It's good to know. Xiao Yuyang snorted. They are waiting here, naturally for the Tai Miao Dan. The warriors who came out from the land of the 4 seasons before spread the news that the incomparable treasure lotus appeared in the land of the 4 seasons and was refined into a pill by Yang Kai. Xiao Yuyang and others were naturally shocked when they heard the news. Tai Miao Dan, that is a heaven-defying panacea. If it works well, 1 grain of Tai Miao pill is enough to create a strong emperor senior realm. The matter is very important, how can they not care about it? If they are not afraid of rushing into the land of 4 seasons and destroying the light door of the exit, they have already rushed in, how can they give Yang Kai time to make a deal? Waiting here for a long time, and finally seeing Yang Kai, the righteous master, of course they have to ask clearly. Where's the extra wonderful pill? Hand it over. Xiao Yuyang directly stretched out a hand to Yang Kai. How can there be any extra? It's all gone. Yang Kai shouted innocently. Xiao Yuyang put on that majestic posture again, and said coldly, you should know that your strength is low. If you lie, I can see it, right? I'm telling the truth. If you don't believe me, you can ask Brother Wuchang and Brother Sha. Yang Kai pointed. Wuchang and Sha Sheng couldn't help but twitch slightly. Although they are the rising stars of Daoyuan realm, they will definitely be able to advance to the throne in time, but compared with the veteran emperor senior realm powerhouses like Xiao Yuyang, there is still a big gap. At this moment, Yang Kai's misfortune will naturally put the pressure on the 2 of them. That's good, Xiao Yuyang said in a deep voice. This seat asks you, you answer honestly. If you dare to lie even half a sentence, I will send you back to the land of 4 seasons, and let you stay there for the rest of your life. While speaking, he pointed to the exit of the light gate that was not yet closed. As soon as the subject changed, he showed a pleasant expression again, and said with a smile, "Of course, if you cooperate honestly, you will be rich and prosperous, a lot." Yang Kai wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, and said, "Is this a stick of chalk for a candied date?" "Hee, feel free to ask Master Xiao if you have any questions, I know everything." Xiao Yuyang showed a satisfied expression, and said, "That wonderful pill, is it really you who refined it? How can you make a fake out of the public eye?" Yang Kai said proudly, "If you don't believe me, you can ask Her Royal Highness, she can testify for me. I've asked, but I still can't believe that you are a Daoyuan level alchemist." Xiao Yuyang said in disbelief, paused, and then continued, "Forget it, let's not consider this question for the time being. That would be wonderful, Dan. How many pills are there in total?" 4 grains. Where did they all go? Princess Lanzun ate one, a female disciple from Bafengman ate one, and I ate one myself. The last one was given to Wuchang. Oh, hearing this, Feng Ming of Wuhua Palace raised his eyebrows, showing a surprised expression, and turned to look at Wuchang. Impermanence nodded slightly at him. Feng Ming laughed immediately, his eyes and nose were not the same, and he said, "Master Xiao, Wuchang got a piece of 2 wonderful pill, it is his own chance, please raise your hand high, he. Xiao Yuyang glanced at him, ignored him, but said to Yang Kai, "According to what you said, there is no one of the Tai Miao Dan." Yang Kai said with embarrassment, "Master Xiao, I spent a lot of effort refining that batch of 2 wonderful pills, and I almost failed to refine it successfully. It is a blessing to be able to make 4 pills at the last moment, what else do you want?" After pondering for a while, he continued, "After refining, the spirit pills are all in my pill furnace, and the transaction is also going on under the watchful eyes of everyone. All the spirit pills have indeed been consumed. Master Xiao checked my space before. Quit, I didn't find anything after thinking about it." Xiao Yuyang nodded lightly, and said, "That's right, to be able to make 4 pills, you have done your best with your strength. Even if it is an emperor-level alchemist, you may not be able to refine many magic pills. Now that the whereabouts of you have been found out, then, it's nothing to do. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation." Chapter 2201 Bad Harvest, Immortality. Chapter 2201 Don't Do It, Don't Die. Hearing this, Yang Kai's expression relaxed. Xiao Yuyang said sternly, "I want to teach you to know that I am here not to snatch your panacea. It's just, I'm innocent, but I'm guilty of it. If you have a cultivation base like yours, it's too wonderful. Dan is here, I'm afraid that disasters will continue in the future." Yang Kai nodded repeatedly, "Understood, let Master Xiao bother." He knew that although Xiao Yuyang said it nicely, his real purpose was to snatch his Tai Miao Dan. Of course, it is not accurate to describe it as snatching, and he would definitely give some compensation. But what Xiao Yuyang said is not bad. If Yang Kai really has extra great wonder pills in his body, then he won't be able to have a good life in the future. He is not afraid of warriors at Daoyuan level, but what about those at Emperor Senior level? It is true that the strong in the Emperor Senior realm don't need 2 wonderful pills, but which Emperor Senior realm doesn't have some junior disciples? Things like Tai Miao Dan are also very attractive to them. At that time, there are bound to be countless Emperor Zunjing who heard the news, chasing and intercepting him. But now that this is done, it has been confirmed that all the Tai Miao Dan refined by Yang Kai has been consumed, and it has been confirmed by Xiao Yuyang and the other 5 Emperor Senior Realm powerhouses. I believe that no one will come to trouble Yang Kai in the future, trying to find 2 wonderful pill from him. From a certain standpoint, Yang Kai should really be grateful to Xiao Yuyang. At this point, Yang Kai's space ring has been transferred to Gao Shueting's hands, and the other 5 people have already checked it out, but they can't find anything from it, and Gao Shueting didn't go to waste, and directly returned the space ring Yang Kai. Yang Kai put the ring back on, then looked at Xiao Yuyang and said, "If Master Xiao has nothing else to do, the boy will step back first." Xiao Yuyang nodded lightly, and after finishing speaking, he looked at him and said, "I have a suggestion, I don't know if you would like to listen. It's a great honor for Master Xiao to give you some advice." Yang Kai quickly said seriously. Seeing him so upright, Xiao Yuyang's expression couldn't help but calm down a lot, and he said in a deep voice, "You can't chew too much." Yang Kai raised his brows, revealing a thoughtful look, cupped his fists and said, "Thank you for your reminder, I know what I know." That's the best, you step back. Xiao Yuyang waved his hand. Yang Kai then went to the layman, came to the place where the disciples of Qingyang Temple gathered, and found a seat to sit down. At this moment, in the Nameless Valley, many warriors gathered in groups, taking a break with sects and families as units. But looking at the number of people, it was at least 1/3 less than 33 days ago. Those warriors who failed to appear here obviously encountered something unexpected in the land of 4 seasons. In this world, any secret realm, any place of experience, is accompanied by corresponding risks in addition to opportunities, and the growth path of warriors has always been hovering between life and death. This is the fate that every warrior needs to face, and it is the fate that every warrior cannot avoid. A martial artist's cultivation is like a big wave washing sand, filtering it down layer by layer, and the ones left to the end are the strongest. When Yang Kai was resting, Bian Yuqing and Ko Wu came to say goodbye to him. Only the 2 of them came to the land of 4 seasons to practice in the Jade Feather sect this time, but they were lucky. Although they didn't get much chance in harvest, they finally returned safely. Now that the land of 4 seasons is about to close, the 2 of them will naturally return to the Jade Feather sect. Yang Kai chatted with them for a while, then watched them leave. He didn't bother to tell Bian Yuqing not to tell Wu Mengxian about himself, because he knew that after Bian Yuqing went back, he would definitely tell Wu Mengxian all the experiences of this trip. It was revealed to Wu Meng Mountain's ears. Yang Kai is quite afraid of this guy. He could only secretly make up his mind that before he became strong enough, he would never meet this old boy, so as not to be fooled by him. Another hour or so later, with a humming sound between heaven and earth, the light gate at the entrance of the unnamed valley disappeared, and the land of 4 seasons was completely closed, and the next opening would have to wait until the year of the monkey. But at this time, the 4 seasons land and his party were completely over, and many warriors from sects and families left one after another. After Gao Shueding said something to Xiao Yuyang, they also sacrificed the building boat, carrying the people of Qingyang Temple. The disciples rushed back to the circuit. Qingyang Temple did not suffer much loss this time, except for Yang Kai, an outsider. There were 19 disciples when they came, and only 4 people went back. This kind of loss is within Gao Shueding's acceptable range, and it is much smaller than the losses of other sects. But in the end it was a dead person. On the way back, all the disciples were not in a very high mood. They just meditated and rested silently to consolidate their gains in the land of 4 seasons. At a certain moment, Gao Shueding's call came from Yang Kai's ear. He quickly opened his eyes and looked around, only to see this elder Gao of Qingyang Temple standing on the deck of the building with his back facing him, with long hair flying, with fluttering clothes, as if looking at the distant scenery. The graceful back adds to the beauty of the world. Yang Kai didn't dare to neglect, and quickly got up and walked towards her. After standing still not far behind Gao Shueding, Yang Kai clasped his fists and said, "What orders does Elder Gao have?" Gao Shueding didn't answer, but said leisurely, "Do you understand what Master Xiao told you before?" Yang Kai pondered for a while, and said, "Master Xiao probably wants me to choose between martial Dao and pill Dao." Not bad. Gao Shueding nodded slightly, her beautiful face turned around at this moment, staring at Yang Kai with burning eyes. She lightly opened her lips and said, "Your aptitude in both martial arts and alchemy is extremely extraordinary. Given time, you will definitely be able to do it here. One of the 2 fields can achieve a great weapon, and it may be able to reach a height that I can't reach. But people's energy is limited. When you choose martial arts, you have to abandon alchemy, and vice versa. You can't concentrating energy on these 2 areas at the same time. Mr. Xiao has worked hard." The kid understands. Yang Kai nodded seriously. "It's good that you understand. I have nothing else to do. That kid will leave." Yang Kai bowed slightly. He was very surprised that Gao Shueding called him over, but she just told him these things. But in this way, he was a little touched. "I am not a disciple of Qingyang Temple, but Gao Shueding is somewhat caring about herself, otherwise, it is impossible and unnecessary for her to have such a call with herself." Yang Kai had just turned around when he suddenly heard a sentence from behind. "That wonderful pill, is it really gone?" Yang Kai turned his head quickly, but as far as he could see, Gao Shueding just turned his back to him, motionless, as if the words were not spoken by her. He stood there frowning and thought for a while, but he didn't dare to speak again rashly, so he could only return to his position and continue to sit cross-legged. This woman, didn't she see something? A woman's intuition is really terrifying. Yang Kai thought to himself. A few days passed by. On this day, in the Qingyang Mountains, an exquisite building boat galloped by, and many Daoyuanjing standing on the building boat also recovered from the sadness of losing their companions at this moment, all stood up, looking at the familiar place below. Scenery. Wahaha, Sha Sheng, are back again. Sha Sheng pinched his waist with his hands, as if afraid that others would not know, and laughed loudly. His voice rolled across the mountains as the boat moved forward. Shocked, the disciples of the Qingyang temple who were moving below hurriedly looked up. Do you dare to be more mature? Xiao Bai looked at him coldly, with a look of disdain. Xiao Bai, you should be happy when you get home. Come on, shout with senior brother. Sha Sheng said, walked to Xiao Bai's side and put his arms around his shoulders. Who wants to shout with you? Xiao Bai's forehead was throbbing with veins. What a shame. Murong Xiao blushed. HMPH. Xiao Bai snorted coldly, squinted at Sha Sheng and said, look at the senior brothers of other sects, look at Wucheng and Luo Yuan, they are cold and scumbags, and let the younger brothers and sisters below them I feel very reliable and safe, but what about you? You haven't done anything right all day, so you can still be a big brother like this. So you want to be a ruthless brother? At this moment, Sha Sheng suddenly became serious, with a cold light in his eyes, and the expression of the hippie smile disappeared in an instant, replaced by a supercilious, self-respecting attitude. At this moment, Sha Sheng's temperament changed drastically. Senior brothers from other families can do it, but this senior brother, naturally can do it too. He said solemnly. Murong Xiao was stunned, a small mouth circled into a circle, her small hands covered it, her beautiful eyes trembled. Do you feel very reliable and safe? Sha Sheng stared at her, and asked in a strong and low voice, do you want to risk your life and throw everything into the broad chest and strong arms of senior brother? Murong Xiao pursed her red lips, and said timidly, brother, your murderous aura, leaked out. Don't make trouble. Gao Shueding glanced at Sha Sheng, and said lightly, the upper beam is not straight, and the lower beam is crooked. Don't learn from our palace master, and be careful not to find a woman in the future. Yes, Sha Sheng suddenly felt as if he had been struck by lightning, and his whole body was hit hard. After thinking about it for a while, cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and he said in a low voice, yes, the suzerains and palace masters of other families are all wives and concubines. Crowds, hugging left and right, enjoying the blessings of everyone, but our palace master is an old bachelor. His face turned pale, as if he had seen some terrible scene. He raised his head while talking, looked at Gao Shueding and said, Elder Gao, the palace master is so pitiful, you never thought about, come again. Quote. Before he finished speaking, Gao Shueding suddenly flicked his sleeves and threw him off the building boat, and was thrown far away with a long scream. Don't do it, don't die. Xiao Bai didn't show any sympathy for him, instead he snorted coldly. Murong Xiao turned around and took a worried look. She wanted to plead for Sha Sheng or something, but when she met Gao Shueding's eyes, she swallowed her words in fright. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2227 pieces. Qingyang Temple, on top of the main peak, Wansheng Peak, the building boat slowly descended, creating a monstrous storm. Down below, the Master Wen Zishan, the Deputy Master Chu Ran, the Elder Chen Qian and others who had already received the news all waited solemnly. Before the boat landed, the divine thoughts of several emperors had already swept over the boat. In an instant, all the strong men had a clear understanding of the loss of the disciples on this trip. Although a few elite disciples had been lost, fortunately the few who had placed high hopes had returned safely, so everyone breathed out involuntarily, and their dignified expressions became a little more relaxed. After a while, the building boat landed. All the disciples jumped down from above. Gao Shueding pinched the spell with her hands, and put the boat away. Ha ha ha, Xiao Shueding, I haven't seen you for so many days, you miss me so much, come on, let uncle give you a hug first. Wen Zishan laughed, opened his arms and strode towards Gao Shueding. Rub, the sword chi groaned, and the killing intent appeared. Wen Zishan stood 3 feet in front of Gao Shueding in cold sweat. At this moment, a long sword of cherry blossoms was pressing against his neck. Step forward and kill you. Wen Zishan didn't dare to move. Hey, Chu Ran stretched out her hand to support her forehead, and sighed helplessly, Hall Master, please respect yourself. Just kidding. Wen Zishan sneered, leaned back, and floated back to the previous position. His face changed, and he said solemnly, Then, the master of the palace here congratulates you all for returning safely. All of you are the mainstay of the temple in the future, the talents of the future. You have worked hard on this trip. The disciples didn't speak, but just looked at him quietly, and Gao Shueding also slowly put away the sharp sword. My hall master will keep your achievements in mind, and the deaths of several fellow disciples are not meaningless. Now, those of you who have obtained extra star seals, come with the hall master, and the rest of you can take a break. Quote. Yes. With an order, everyone suddenly agreed. In the blink of an eye, a dozen or so people left, only 4 or 5 left. Yang Kai turned his head and took a look, and found that besides himself, Xiao Bai, Murong Xiaoxiao, and another young martial artist who couldn't be named at the second level of Dao origin were left behind. Although this martial artist is also a disciple of Qingyang Temple and entered the land of 4 seasons, Yang Kai didn't communicate with him much all the way back and forth, so he didn't know him well. But judging by his temperament and demeanor, he shouldn't be a difficult person to get along with. Where's that kid Sha Sheng? After a while, Wen Zishan looked at Gao Shueding suspiciously. He didn't see Sha Sheng here, and his face changed slightly, thinking that something happened to Sha Sheng in the land of 4 seasons. Even Chu Ran thought so, and couldn't help turning pale, and said, Elder Gao, could it be that Sha Sheng? Gao Shueding said lightly, no, isn't this here? While speaking, a figure galloped from a very far away, shouting loudly while flying, wait for me. After a while, Sha Sheng landed in front of everyone, looked at Gao Shueding sadly, and said pitifully, Elder Gao, let me know before you do anything next time. I'm not mentally prepared at all. Boy, what are you doing? Wen Zishan stretched out his hand, and knocked Sha Sheng hard from the air, causing his neck to shrink. How master, what are you doing? Sha Sheng covered his head, feeling wronged. Wen Zishan snorted coldly, looking at you like this, you know that Elder Gao is angry. Can't the master teach you a lesson? Sha Sheng blinked and blinked, with a speechless expression on his face. Okay, since you're here, you guys can come with the palace master. Wen Zishan glanced at Yang Kai and said, you come too. In a short while, in the great hall of the 10,000 Saints Peak, many high-level officials of the Qingyang Temple were seated one by one, while several disciples and Yang Kai stood in the center. Directly above, Wen Zishan looked down with a smile, and said, Elder Gao, this trip to the 4 seasons will be led by you, so you should know the details, so please tell me how many star seals did these people get? Gao Shueding heard the words and said calmly, although I haven't compared it with other sects, judging from the number of star seals obtained by these disciples, this harvest should be considered very good. Speaking of this, she turned her pretty face and said, Sha Sheng got 4 star seals, Xiao Bai got 2, Murong Xiaoxiao got 2, Shen Muji got 2. Hearing what she said, Yang Kai knew that the young man at the Dao origin second layer was named Shen Muji. She paused, and said, there are 3 other disciples who each got 1, but they are not here. Wen Zishan nodded slightly, expressing his understanding. Because before departure, the Qingyang Temple stated that all disciples who obtained the star seal in the land of 4 seasons can be qualified to enter the Sea of Broken Stars, so the 3 disciples who only obtained 1 star seal gave the star seal to themselves. If you stay, you don't need to come here to pay. And those who come here are all those who have obtained redundant star seals. Where is this kid? Wen Zishan turned his gaze to Yang Kai. Gao Shueding's expression became a little complicated. She pondered for a while before she gently parted her lips and said, 7 pieces. What? Did I hear you right? There are so many. It turns out that all the people here are Emperor Senior Realm powerhouses, and their Xinxing cultivation is extremely extraordinary, but when they heard that Yang Kai got 7 star seals alone, they couldn't help being surprised, and everyone looked at him with surprise. Go, look up and down, as if to re-evaluate him. After all, Sha Sheng, the great disciple of the temple, only got 4 of them, and he still had the powerful cultivation base of the Daoyuan Third Order Realm, but Yang Kai only had 1 First Order Realm. Where did he get 7? This kid is also very lucky, right? Everyone thought so in their hearts, and secretly felt that Yang Kai should be lucky in this trip, otherwise it would be impossible to get so many star seals no matter what. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Yang Kai was safe and sound. The 7 star seals are indeed all he has gained in the land of 4 seasons. The first one was the diamond-shaped star seal obtained in the Mountain of 2 Seasons. At that time, a monster was chased by Wuchang and others, ran to Yang Kai in a panic, and was shot dead by him to take advantage of it. Later, Yang Kai never had a chance to get the star seal. It wasn't until he guarded the Tamiao Baolian and killed 2 warriors that he got 2 more. At the last moment, he reached a deal with Wuchang and got 4 coins from him. To get so much, luck is certainly a part, but strength is also a necessary guarantee. From a certain point of view, star seals are actually not easy to obtain, because there are not many of them. If Yang Kai hadn't killed 2 warriors, if he hadn't made a deal with Wuchang, he wouldn't have gained this. Perhaps when the exit of the 4 Seasons land was closed, he could only get the first one. There are some reasons, which I will explain to you later, but he did get 7 star seals alone. Gao Shueding said. The reason she said was naturally about the Tamiao pill. Wen Zishan nodded slightly, hummed, and said with a smile, okay, in this way, when the Sea of Broken Stars opens, 19 people can enter my temple. It's really satisfying. If the experience in the land of the 4 seasons is just a small fight, then the Sea of Broken Stars is the place to verify their own martial arts in heaven. That kind of place is not accessible to just anyone. First of all, you must have the credential of the Star Seal, and second, you must have the strength to pass through the entrance of the Sea of Broken Stars, both of which are indispensable. In other words, even if there is a Star Seal, people without strength still cannot enter it. Of the 19 places in the Qingyang Temple, I don't know how many people will be able to enter in the end. However, this number has indeed surpassed many sects and forces. Wen Zishan was naturally overjoyed. This is a sign of the great prosperity of my temple. Chu Ran muttered in a tone like a magic stick, and while speaking, she reached out and stroked her snow-white beard, feeling very relieved. It's not too late, Xiao Chen, take their extra star seals. Wen Zishan cast a look at Chen Qian while speaking. Chen Qian understood, stood up gracefully, stretched out her hand, and a secret treasure in the shape of an incense burner appeared in her small hand. The secret treasure did not know what to do with it. She strolled to the front of the crowd, stood in front of the disciple named Shen Muji, and said softly, just relax. Yes, Shen Muji replied, took a deep breath, and his expression immediately calmed down. Seeing that he was ready, Chen Qian immediately dragged the incense burner with one hand, picked up the seal with the other hand, and tapped Shen Muji several times. Accompanied by a muffled groan, Shen Muji stepped back a few steps incessantly, his complexion turned slightly pale, as if his vitality had been seriously injured. But at the same time, a ray of light suddenly shot out from his body. With sharp eyes and quick hands, Chen Qian stretched out her hand to swipe at the streamer, and immediately an invisible force bound the streamer and dragged it into the incense burner. Yang Kai looked surprised again and again. At that time in the land of 4 seasons, when he made a deal with Wuchang, Wuchang used a secret technique to force out his redundant star seal, which was obtained by Yang Kai, but now it seems that in addition to this method, he can also forcibly peel it off. Thinking about it this way, Yang Kai felt that he had to be more careful when walking in the star realm in the future, otherwise he would encounter some people with ulterior motives, who might have his star seal idea, and then he would cause trouble again. Next, Chen Qian did the same, stripping off the redundant star marks of Sha Sheng, Murong Xiaoxiao and Xiao Bai one by one. Yang Kai could see clearly that no matter how strong these people were, once their star seals were stripped off, they all seemed to be somewhat damaged, even Sha Sheng couldn't help shaking his body, his complexion turned pale. From this point of view, this method of forcibly stripping should have some disadvantages. Not long after, Chen Qian came to Yang Kai. This elder Chen is not tall, but his figure is very petite, standing in front of Yang Kai, he is even a head shorter than him. She looked up at Yang Kai, and said lightly, if you are ready, I will do it. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is mine maximum motivation. Chapter 2203 Good Seedling. Wait a minute, Yang Kai said suddenly. What? Chen Qian frowned when she heard the words, and looked at Yang Kai suspiciously, not knowing what he wanted to do. The others also turned their attention to him. Yang Kai looked calm, turned his head to look in the direction of Wen Zishan, clasped his fists and said, you can turn in the star seal, after all, it is something that has been agreed before, as long as you leave one for me, but before that, I have something I want to ask Palace Master Wen. Oh, Wen Zishan smiled when he heard the words, nodded and said, tell me, what do you need to answer from the master of the palace? Yang Kai Dao. Elder Gao once said before that the extra star seals need to be handed over to the temple. The boys' quota for entering the land of 4 seasons is also provided by the temple, so the 6 extra star seals are handed over to the temple itself. There is nothing wrong with it. After a pause, he continued. Elder Gao also said that after turning in the star seal, the temple will give corresponding rewards. So that's what happened. Wen Zishan smiled and said, you can rest assured that although you are not a disciple of my temple, I will not bully you, and I will reward you as much as I should. Then can I make a request myself? Yang Kai asked. What request do you have? Tell me. Wen Zishan looked at him with great interest. Yuewen should still remember the boy's original intention of entering the land of 4 seasons. Yang Kai asked without answering. Wen Zishan thought for a while, and said, for the sake of disaster. By the way, I haven't asked you yet, is there any gain from this trip? Yang Kai shook his head, no. However, I found a fruit tree in the winter realm, which originally contained spiritual fruit, but unfortunately, someone picked it up first. It's really a pity. Wen Zishan also showed regret. The boy's request is to ask the temple to help me find that spiritual fruit. If Palace Master Wen can agree, I will give you all 6 star seals. Yang Kai said in a deep voice. As soon as this remark came out, the Emperor's senior realm powerhouses in the hall couldn't help frowning. It's not that Yang Kai's request is so overwhelming, it's just that this matter is really difficult. At that time, there were so many Zongmin families who entered the land of the 4 seasons, almost all over the entire southern region. No one saw who picked the fruit of disaster in the winter region. If Qingyang Temple was to come forward to find it, then it is bound to take a huge amount of manpower to find out. But even if you find out the news, you may not be able to get it. The other party will definitely propose some conditions of exchange. In other words, the Qingyang Temple must pay a certain price in order to hope to obtain the fruit of calamity. If the disciples of some small sects or small clans get the fruit of calamity, that's all. The Qingyang Temple only needs to exert a little pressure, and are you afraid that the other party will not give in? I'm afraid that disciples from sects such as Wuhua Palace, Tianwu Holy Land, and even Xingshan Palace will get it. At that time, it will not be a matter of a spiritual fruit, but a matter between 2 sects, and one cannot handle it well, will owe a huge favor. Yang Kai couldn't think of all kinds of interpersonal relationships and Zongmin's interests, but how could the high-level people of Qingyang Temple not think of it? So after Yang Kai made this request, everyone couldn't help but fell silent. Seeing them like this, Yang Kai didn't urge them, but just waited quietly. After a long time, Wen Zishan finally opened his mouth and said, if I remember correctly, the calamity is not your own needs but also entrusted by others. Not bad. Yang Kai nodded. Since you didn't get it in the land of 4 seasons, you have tried your best. Why do you still have to ask for it? You can put forward a favorable condition for yourself, for example. At this point, Wen Zishan suddenly revealed a smile. Weird and dangerous, the tone is full of strong demagoguery, and the voice is low and low. Let the master of the palace take action, give you enlightenment, and improve your cultivation by a large amount. Yang Kai frowned and said, being entrusted by others, it is a matter of loyalty, why should the palace master test me? Hee. Wen Zishan wasn't embarrassed when he was exposed, he just smiled and said heartily, okay, the master of the palace has promised you, and the temple will help you find the fruit of the calamity. It must be found within 3 months. Yang Kai said in a deep voice, if it takes a long time, I'm afraid, there won't be able to support it. 3 months is enough. Wen Zishan smiled slightly, turned to look at Chu Ran and said, Master Vice Hall Master, you are responsible for this matter, and you must bring the fruit of disaster to this boy surnamed Yang within 3 months. Chu Ran got up, clasped his fists and said, this subordinate obeys orders, and will definitely live up to the entrustment of the palace master. While speaking, he actually left the hall directly, and it seemed that he was about to send someone out to look for it. Seeing this, Yang Kai couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. If there is such a powerful sect as the Qingyang Temple to help find the spiritual fruit, then the hope will definitely increase greatly. If he couldn't even find the Qingyang Temple, Yang Kai really had no choice but to go back to Fenggalan City and talk to Qin Zhaoyang. Is that all right? Wen Zishan looked at Yang Kai with a smile. Yang Kai nodded slightly, turned his gaze to Chen Qian and said, thank you, Elder Chen. Chen Qian didn't say a word, her spiritual mind swept over Yang Kai's body, dragging the incense burner with one hand, pinching the spirit art with the other, and tapped Yang Kai a few times. The next moment, Yang Kai felt a surge of heat in his body, his arm was hot, and something seemed to shoot out. At the same time, an indescribable uncomfortable feeling rose from his heart. He couldn't help snorting, and shook his body slightly. Huh, seeing this, Wen Zishan couldn't help showing surprise in his eyes. Because everyone before Yang Kai reacted more or less uncomfortable when the star seals in their bodies were forcibly stripped off. Murong Xiao, Xiao Bai and Shen Muji even took a few steps back, but also pale. Although Yang Kai is also like Sha Sheng, but he was stripped of 6 star seals. And only with the Daoyuan first level cultivation base, he still stood straight in place. That's surprising enough. The others obviously noticed this too, and couldn't help but show interest in him. Swipe. 6 rays of light shot up into the sky, but they were directly restrained by Chen Qian and dragged into the incense burner. After everything was done, Chen Qian said softly to Yang Kai, I left you a 5-pointed star seal. If you really enter the broken star sea, make good use of it. Thank you, Elder Chen. Yang Kai took a deep breath, calming the blood rolling in his chest. Among the 7 star seals he obtained, the highest level is a 5-pointed star seal, which was traded from Wuchang. For example, the 6-pointed star, 7-pointed star, and 8-pointed star that Lan Xuan mentioned before, Yang Kai has never even seen it, and he doesn't know if there is really such a grade of star seal in this world. Anyway, generally speaking, Yang Kai is still very satisfied with the final result, and Chen Qian really thought about it for him, and didn't just keep one for him, but the highest grade one. Yang Kai still doesn't know the difference between the different grades of the star seals, but now is not the time to ask. Anyway, he will stay in the Qingyang temple for a while, and he is only going to find a chance to ask people for clarification. You guys have worked hard, go down and rest. Wen Zishan waved his hands at the Daoyuan realm, and said, as for the rewards given to you by the temple, let us discuss it and tell you another day. Yes, Sha Sheng and the others responded in unison before bowing and exiting the hall. After everyone left, Di Rong, the elder of Qingyang Temple, muttered, he is a good seedling. Although what he said was endless, everyone present understood what he meant. The person he was referring to was naturally Yang Kai. It seems that you have also discovered it. Wen Zishan smiled slightly. This kid surnamed Yang is a bit different. I think Elder Gao and Elder Chen understand this best. In fact, when he was fighting Shui Yi, the 2 elders saw it from beginning to end. Chen Qian nodded and said, that's right, Shui Yi is no match for him at all. He is more than a little different, he is simply 1 in a billion. Gao Shueting said in a deep voice. Oh, Elder Gao thinks so highly of him. Isn't that exaggerated? Di Rong turned to look at Gao Shueting, and said disapprovingly. If you knew what he did in the land of 4 seasons, you wouldn't think so. Gao Shueting replied lightly. Wen Zishan smiled and said, what do you mean by that? What earth-shattering thing did he do in the land of 4 seasons? Refining a furnace of Tai Miao Dan, does it count? Gao Shueting turned to look at him. As soon as this remark came out, everyone's expressions changed. Great pill. Di Rong snorted, the legendary panacea that can lead directly to the throne after taking it. Whether the rumors are true or not, I don't know, but he did refine the Tai Miao pill. So, this trip to the land of the 4 seasons, there is a great treasure lotus born. Wen Zishan raised his brows. Yes. Gao Shueting nodded, and immediately explained everything she knew, and also explained why Yang Kai had so many star seals. After listening, several Emperor Senior Realm fell silent. Although this kid is only at the Daoyuan first level realm, not only is his strength amazing, but he is also a Daoyuan level alchemist. When Di Rong said this, his expression was brilliant. He's not just an ordinary Daoyuan level alchemist. Chen Qian whispered, he has a batch of panacea, 4 pills, and can do this level. At least he is a Daoyuan level middle rank or even a top rank alchemist. An alchemist at Daoyuan level can't do this kind of thing at all. Elder Gao said that he is 1 in a billion, but it's pertinent. Wen Zishan said in a deep voice, among the rising stars in the Daoyuan realm, those who can achieve his level, looking at the entire star field, I'm afraid except for the closed disciple of Emperor Miao Dan, no one can compare to him, right? In martial arts, there may be someone with better aptitude than him. In alchemy, there may be someone with better aptitude than him, but there is probably no one who has both at the same time. Hall Master, such a good young man, you never thought of taking him into the sect. This kid seems to be from a wild family background, right? Di Rong suggested eagerly. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2204 4 Seasons Missing 1. Wen Zishan smiled and said, It would be great if such a good seedling can join the temple, but it depends on other people's wishes, but it may not be impossible to try. At this point, he turned his head to look at Gao Shueding, and said, Elder Gao, among us, you know him best, so you will be responsible for this matter. I don't know him either. Gao Shueding replied flatly, but since the palace master has ordered it, the subordinates should go and try. Wen Zishan nodded slightly, changed the topic, and said, then, let's discuss now what kind of rewards should be given to those disciples. On Feiyan Peak of Qingyang Temple, Yang Kai returned to this place. The palace that was damaged by the last battle with Shuiyi has been rested as if it were new at this moment. After Yang Kai entered it, he opened the restriction enchantment. After resting for half a day, he began to check the harvest of his trip to the Land of Four Seasons. This time, entering the Land of Four Seasons, although he did not get the fruit of calamity, overall the harvest is not small. Don't mention those monster inner alchemy with different levels and a lot of money, just say that the spiritual flowers and herbs transplanted into the Shaoxuanji medicine garden are already a bumper harvest. And most of these spiritual flowers and herbs are of the ice attribute. After all, when Yang Kai was in the Land of Four Seasons, he spent the longest time in the winter domain, and there was still Xiao Shuihua leading the way to explore. It can be said that at least 1/10 of the treasures in the entire winter domain fell into his hand. Yang Kai picked these spiritual flowers and herbs at that time, and immediately transplanted them into the medicine garden. The medicine garden in mysterious Shaoxuan has a special environment, and the growth conditions are extremely good. There is even a treasure like the Immortal tree that exudes shocking vitality. Don't worry that these flowers and plants will lose their vitality, but their growth cycle in the medicine garden will be greatly shortened. After 1 year of planting in the medicine garden, the medicinal age of these flowers and plants will be at least 100 years old. In addition to these, there is also a time fruit obtained from the Temple of Time. Although this thing is useless for martial arts cultivation, it has a miraculous effect in a certain aspect. If it can be refined into the time pill, it will definitely make countless warriors flock to it. Taking one pill can make one's physical condition go back to decades, or even hundreds of thousands of years ago, which is very attractive to those warriors whose time limit is approaching. Especially women of all ages, who wouldn't want to look younger. Although the effect of the Suiyu pill is not as good as the legendary Zuyan pill that can keep the face youthful forever, but the effects of the two are different, and it is really difficult to compare which one is better. If a wrinkled old woman were to choose, she would definitely choose Suiyu pill instead of Zuyan pill, because Zuyan pill has no effect on her face, but Suiyu pill can make her radiate vitality and youth again. And if it is a young and beautiful woman to choose, Zuyan Dan is undoubtedly more attractive. Yang Kai secretly planned to find an opportunity to collect medicinal materials after leaving the Qingyang Temple, and refine the time pill, which might have some miraculous effects at critical moments. Apart from these, there are some messy things. These things include the spoils that Yang Kai gained after killing people, and the psionic hearts obtained by killing those puppets in the Temple of Time, all of which are of little use to him, and can be replaced with source crystals when he finds a chance. After a while, a jade bottle appeared in Yang Kai's hand. He opened the bottle cap, and what looked like a panacea inside the bottle immediately came into view. Emperor Ju pill. It was the Emperor Ju pill that I got from Wuchang. The inside of the Emperor Ju pill is sealed with the full glow of the Emperor Senior Realm powerhouse. The power is unimaginable, and the difficulty of refining is immeasurable. Generally speaking, only the second-tier Emperor Senior Realm powerhouses are eligible. Refining this thing is used to bestow life-saving consumables on one's own descendants. And every time an Emperor Ju pill is condensed, this Emperor Senior Realm expert will be weak for a long time. So unless it is necessary, the Emperor Senior Realm is not willing to refine these things. Even if it is refined, it is occasionally, and not many. So even if you look at the entire star world, Emperor Ju pill is one of the few rare treasures. And this Emperor Ju pill was obtained from the Temple of Suiyu. It is something left by the Suiyu Emperor. Although it is not known when the Suiyu Emperor refined it, its value and grade are definitely far beyond the general meaning. The Emperor's absolute pill. Maybe, what is sealed inside it is a blow at the level of a great emperor, or a blow at the level of a third-layer emperor. All in all, this is indeed a life-saving trump card. At a critical moment, even if you are surrounded by thousands of troops, the strong will be able to save your life. Yang Kai carefully put it away, put it in the space ring where it was easy to get, and then turned his attention to the other 3 beads in front of him. These 3 beads are exactly the same in size and shape, the only difference is their color. One is fiery red, which is what Yang Kai obtained in the Temple of Time. At that time, there were so many good things in the temple, and Lan Xuan basically identified all the items, except that he couldn't see through the origin of the fiery red bead, and he didn't even know what it was for. And Yang Kai kept in mind what the Holy Spirit Changqi asked Zhang Ruoxi to tell him: if he could enter the deepest part of the temple, he must take away the most useless things. Among the treasures at that time, except for the fiery red bead, which seemed to be the most useless, all the others were useful, whether it was the fake emperor treasure, Tai Shenshui, or Emperor Yun, Emperor Ju pill, all of which were rarely seen by the outside world. Treasure. So Yang Kai went straight to this bead. No one competed with him for this thing, allowing him to get it easily. The second bead was emerald green, and it was obtained by Yang Kai in the frozen lake in the winter realm. And the third bead was exactly what he got in exchange for the round-faced woman from Bafangmen. At that time, if the thing that the round-faced woman took out had such a bead, Yang Kai would not have exchanged the Tai Miao pill. The third bead showed a light yellow color, just like the color of a withered leaf, giving people a sense of withered flowers and autumn wind. 3 beads, 3 colors, but no matter which one, Yang Kai poured in the source power or divine sense, and there was no response. They are brightly colored and easy to see at a glance. Combined with the 4 seasons, it is easy to think of spring, summer, autumn and winter. The emerald green color undoubtedly represents the vigorous spring, while the fiery red dazzling light obviously represents summer, and the bleak light yellow color obviously represents autumn. One of the 4 seasons is missing, and only the winter pearl is missing. Yang Kai secretly reckoned that if he could find the last winter pearl, he might be able to unravel the mysteries contained in these 4 beads, but now that the land of 4 seasons has been closed, even if he wanted to go in and look for it, it was impossible for him to get his wish. After watching for a while, Yang Kai sighed and put away the 3 4 seasons beads. He didn't know what the name of these beads should be, so he decided to give them the name 4 seasons beads in his heart. If there is a destiny in this life, maybe you can still find the last bead, but if you don't have a destiny, you may never see it. In the vast star world, how difficult is it to find a winter pearl? Generally speaking, Yang Kai's harvest this time is not too much, but it is not a lot. Not to mention the benefits of tempering the power of time that he got on the ladder of time, and the emperor treasure Feng Taixia clothes that Zhang Ruoxi got. Yang Kai sorted it out a bit, and threw some messy things that he didn't need at all into mysterious small world and stuffed them into Dharma body. These things include all kinds of panacea, minerals, and even secret treasures collected from other people's space rings. Anyway, Dharma body has practiced the heaven-devouring battle technique, supplemented by the innate supernatural powers of the Stone Puppet Clan. Everything in the world, as long as there is aura, can devour everything. Today's Dharma body, Yang Kai estimated that even if he gave it an emperor treasure, it would be able to swallow it, absorb it into his body, and turn it into a stronger capital. A moment later, Yang Kai pinched the spirit art with his hands, and his figure flickered, directly flashing into the mysterious small world. His divine sense swept across, and all the disturbances in mysterious Shaoji were imprinted in his mind. The Dharma body was cultivating without any suspense, and the stone puppet's body didn't know what it was to be tired, so it spared no effort in its cultivation. And the 2 living people in mysterious Shaoji, Zhang Ruoxi and Huaqingxi, also occupied an attic at the moment, sitting cross-legged there. Perhaps it was because the mysterious boundary orb swallowed a large amount of spiritual energy from the spiritual energy sea last time, so after Yang Kai came in this time, he felt that the cultivation environment here was obviously better. From this point of view, if there is a chance, it is still necessary to allow the mysterious boundary orb to absorb a little more spiritual energy from the outside world, at least to encounter a situation like the sea of spiritual energy last time. With a slight movement of his mind, he intentionally concentrated the spiritual energy in mysterious Shaoji towards the direction of the attic. In this way, Zhang Ruoxi and Huaqingxi could practice more efficiently. Zhang Ruoxi was promoted to the Void Return first level in the Land of 4 Seasons last time, and the time is still short, and she is still consolidating her cultivation. But, Yang Kai didn't dare to underestimate her because of her weak cultivation. This time, taking Zhang Ruoxi into the Land of 4 Seasons made Yang Kai see many incredible things. He clearly remembered that when Zhang Ruoxi was promoted to the great state of Void Return Mirror, a huge heroic phantom suddenly appeared behind him. The phantom was in the shape of a woman, as if Zhang Ruoxi had been magnified countless times. She absorbed all the energy vortexes in the sky, and in the blink of an eye, Zhang Ruoxi was promoted successfully without any hindrance. And then, in the Temple of Time, when Zhang Ruoxi was about to be unable to withstand the washing of the power of time, it was the Holy Spirit Changqi who saved her life, and even offered to give her a phoenix robe. If Zhang Ruoxi didn't have any secrets, Yang Kai wouldn't believe it even if he killed her. Changqi is a ferocious beast. Even in the ancient times, it was also a prestigious existence, but all warriors encountered by it basically have no hope of surviving, but such a holy spirit is willing to save a warrior like Zhang Ruoxi. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2205 So Poisonous. Chapter 2205 So Poisonous. Changqi obviously saw something in Zhang Ruoxi that Yang Kai didn't know. And that ethereal jade why did it only respond to Zhang Ruoxi? What does the lightning-like image on the jade disc mean? It's just that Zhang Ruoxi doesn't understand her own situation, so it's impossible for Yang Kai to ask clearly. How can one underestimate such a person who is so full of secrets that even Changqi rescues him? Yang Kai now only hopes that she can grow up quickly. Maybe when her strength becomes stronger, she will be able to figure out the mystery of herself without knowing it. Zhang Ruoxi was cultivating. Yang Kai didn't bother her, but moved straight to the attic where Watching Si was. When he appeared, there was no movement, but Watching Si seemed to feel something. Dai Mei frowned slightly, and after opening her beautiful eyes, she couldn't help giving Yang Kai a look, saying, "Say it when you come, it's scary." "I didn't know you were so timid." Yang Kai grinned. "The land of 4 seasons, is it closed?" Watching Si asked thoughtfully. Yang Kai nodded. "How's the harvest?" So. Watching Si couldn't help curling her lips, and said, "It's insincere at first glance, did you get something good?" Yang Kai smiled and said, "There is a little bit." While speaking, he stretched out his hand to take out a pure white and round panacea, and pinched it with 2 fingers. "This is..." Watching Si's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly, staring at the panacea, showing a blank look. Although she didn't know what this panacea was or what it was used for, she instinctively felt that this thing was something extraordinary, and it was very likely that it was something rare in the world. "Either," Yang Kai asked with a subtle arc at the corner of his mouth. "Based on the current relationship between you and me, and the prerequisite that you can kill me at any time, plus the color and aroma of this elixir, this should not be a poisonous elixir or elixir that is not good for me, because there is no need to do this, so, this panacea is of great use to me." Watching Si did not answer Yang Kai's question immediately, but analyzed it carefully. "I am already a Daoyuan 3rd layer cultivation base, and the distance between Emperor Prestige Realm is only 1 step away. There are really not many panaceas that are of great use to me in this world, and I have never seen or even heard of this panacea in your hand." As she talked, Watching Si's beautiful eyes gradually brightened. "The only explanation is that this panacea is something that only exists in those kinds of legends." She couldn't wait to exclaim, I want it, give it to me." Yang Kai didn't give it to her immediately, instead he looked at her teasingly, and said in a loud voice, "Is it really good for a woman to say such a thing? Go and die." Watching Si's face was red after being teased. She gritted her teeth and stared at Yang Kai. "Will you give it?" Yang Kai smiled slightly, and stopped teasing her, and directly threw the spirit pill over. Watching Si took it happily, and first put it in front of her eyes to observe it carefully, but she didn't see any tricks. Then she went up to sniff it, and even stretched out her pink tongue to lick it gently. "Is it necessary?" Yang Kai looked at it with black lines. "Can't we just eat it?" "What kind of panacea is this?" Watching Si raised her head and asked. "It's so wonderful." As soon as the words came out, Watching Si was stunned immediately. Her beautiful eyes trembled violently, and she stared at Yang Kai incredulously. "You know." Yang Kai looked at her in surprise. After all, when they were in the land of 4 seasons, there were many warriors who didn't know about Tamiao Baolian and Tamiao Pill. It was thanks to Lan Xuan's explanation that everyone realized how precious it was. But with Watching Si's demeanor, one can see that she knows the goods. "How could I not know?" Watching Si answered naturally, her voice trembling inexplicably. "This is a famous, so wonderful pill. Maybe a single grain of 2 wonderful pill will not appear in thousands of years." She is not exaggerating. Although the Tamiao Baolian may appear every once in a while, the Tamiao pill is extremely hard to find, because if the Tamiao Baolian is not taken or refined into a pill within 3 hours after it matures, the medicinal power will be consumed exhausted. For Tai Miao Dan to be born, two conditions must be met. The wonderful Baolian was born. At the same time that Tai Miao Baolian was born, there was a skilled alchemist nearby. The two conditions are met at the same time, almost once in a million years. Even if it is achieved, the alchemist must perform normally or supernormally, otherwise, if the alchemy fails, nothing will be lost. It's not like this kind of thing has happened in history. The alchemist was under too much pressure when refining the Tai Miao pill, and the refining failed, and the pill was destroyed and died. It can be seen from this that Tai Miao Dan is precious and rare. Sure enough, he is quite knowledgeable. Yang Kai grinned. Where did you get it? There is this thing in the Temple of Time. Hua Qingxi was still shocked, unable to recover for a long time. I practiced it myself, Yang Kai replied. Are you still an alchemist? Hua Qingxi's expression suddenly became strange. No way, Yang Kai responded unhappily, and urged. What are you still holding? Eat it, you are now at the 3rd level of Daoyuan, take it, maybe you can be promoted to the throne in a short time. Is this really for me? Although Hua Qingxi asked, her hand was tightly holding Tai Miao Dan. What should I do if I don't give it to you? Yang Kai was amused by her. Thought for a while, and explained. Let's put it this way. Although you handed over your soul imprint reluctantly, you have concluded a relationship with me that you are not satisfied with, but since you have this bond, I am not afraid of you betraying me or revealing my secrets, and the stronger your strength, the greater the effect on me, and I really hope that you can be promoted to Emperor Senior Realm as soon as possible, and when the time comes, I will lead you around the world to see who doesn't like it, and let you come out and bite him. Am I a dog? When Hua Qingxi began to listen, a moved and grateful expression appeared on her pretty face, but the more she listened, the more something went wrong. Her face immediately turned cold, and she could almost scrape off a layer of frost. Stop rambling, take it quickly. Yang Kai snorted coldly. I figured it out. Hua Qingxi squinted at him, and said with a sneer, you are a man with a knife mouth and a bean-curd heart. You want to show your kindness to others, but you are too embarrassed. You are afraid that your performance will shake your dominant position too much, but the mouth is so vicious and ruthless. Do you believe that I stripped you and threw you out? Yang Kai threatened viciously, feeling a little annoyed. Come on. A blush appeared on Hua Qingxi's pretty face, but she straightened her breasts without showing any weakness, and challenged Yang Kai, if you really dare to do this, I will spread the word that my old lady is your woman, see if your head is green or not. So poisonous. Yang Kai turned pale with shock. HMPH. Hua Qingxi sneered, if you are afraid, just call me sister obediently, I may not be merciful and let you go. You're ruthless. Yang Kai scolded angrily, gritted his teeth, and left mysterious Shaoji with his body shaking. If he continued to entangle with this crazy woman, he was afraid that he would be overwhelmed. Don't go, I haven't finished talking yet. Hua Qingxi called out quickly, but there was no response. After a long while, she pursed her red lips, looked at the Tai Miao pill in her hand, and said to herself, it seems that if I hadn't seen some of his secrets at that time, I wouldn't have fallen into the present situation. This realm, but if you don't fall to this point, you won't get this wonderful pill, it's a blessing and a curse. Forget it, what's the point of being imprisoned by him for 100 years just for this one pill? While speaking, a smile appeared on her face. Although she now has a Daoyuan 3rd level cultivation base, she has no confidence in being promoted to the throne. Her cultivation base relies on steady efforts and the accumulation of time to slowly improve. But how to break through this threshold and pry into the mysteries of Emperor Senior Realm, she has never been able to figure it out. When she was in Star God Palace, she also found opportunities to consult those strong people in the palace, but no one could give her a satisfactory answer. No one can show her a bright path. She secretly felt that if there were no special opportunities in this life, it would be impossible to touch the mystery of Emperor Senior Realm. But now, this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity suddenly appeared in front of her. How can Hua Qingxi not be excited? The reason why she knew about the great wonderful pill was because there was no hope of being promoted to the throne, so she looked up the classics of the Star God Palace, wanting to know what panacea could help her in this world. And all the classics recorded the word, Tai Miao Dan. According to the classics, this is the panacea that directly leads to the throne, as long as the aptitude is not too bad, and the understanding is not too low. After taking it, in time, one can be promoted to the Emperor's realm. As for warriors who have cultivated to the 3rd level of Daoyuan, which qualifications are not enough. All it takes is time. Guys like Sha Sheng Wucheng may be able to be promoted to the throne within 5 or even 3 years after taking it, and those with less aptitude 10 or 20 years. But so what if it is 100 years? As long as you can advance to Emperor Senior Realm, no matter how long you wait, it will be worth it. This seemed like a great gift. Watching Si asked herself that her relationship with Yongkai was just a master and servant forced by the imprint of the soul, but she didn't expect that the other party was willing to give her such a panacea. The generosity and open-mindedness of this man was beyond her expectation. During the contemplation, watching Si no longer hesitated, and directly stuffed that wonderful pill into her mouth. Since she knew Tai Miao Dan, she also knew that the sooner she took it, the better. As soon as the elixir entered her stomach, she immediately sat down cross-legged, silently practiced the profound kung fu, and dispelled the effects of the medicine. At the same time, in Fei Yin Peak's palace wing, Yongkai appeared in embarrassment, cursing, seemingly depressed. The furnace of Tai Miao Dan refined was not just 4 pieces of Cheng Dan as he told others, but 5 pieces. When the pill calamity came, Lu Yan wrapped the Tai Miao Dan and hid in the mysterious Shaoji, and took away all the spiritual pills, and after the pill calamity, before the crowd recovered, Yongkai quietly took them away. 4 of them were put back, and everything was unnoticed. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2206 Ziyang Mask. With Yongkai's current cultivation base and alchemist level, he was able to make 5 pills at a time when refining Tai Miao pill, and luck accounted for a large part. He secretly estimated that he could only make 3 pills, but he didn't expect that when the final result came out, a big surprise would appear in front of him. The only thing that makes Yongkai feel pity is that among the 5 spirit pills, not even one with pill mark appeared. It's justifiable, it's so wonderful, it's not easy to produce pills, if you regenerate pill patterns, it's really too heaven-defying. For the next few days, Yongkai has been living on Fei Yin Peak, while cultivating with peace of mind, patiently waiting for news from Qingyang Temple. Finding the fruit of calamity is definitely not a day or 2. The reason why Yongkai gave a 3-month deadline is entirely for Qin Yu's consideration. Her body and age can no longer wait any longer. On the Qingyang Temple side, she is Yongkai's only hope. Fei Yin Peak is located in the remote Qingyang Mountains, very quiet, so no one came to disturb Yongkai. What Yongkai didn't expect was that after a few days, there was an unexpected visitor. It was Gao Shueding who came. This made him extremely surprised, and he would not be negligent, and welcomed Gao Shueding into the hall, so that he could accompany her. He originally thought that Gao Shueding came to find him for something, but he didn't want to think that it was not what he imagined. This cold-tempered Emperor Senior Realm powerhouse stayed with Yongkai for a long time, just like an elder asking about the cultivation situation of the younger generation. Same, asked Yongkai some martial arts questions. Yongkai thought carefully and answered one by one. Judging from Gao Shueding's complexion, he didn't know whether the answer made her satisfied. It is rare to have such an opportunity to get in close contact with the Emperor Senior Realm powerhouse at such a close distance. Yongkai also took the opportunity to ask some things that he did not understand. Explain. Yongkai gained a lot. At the end, Gao Shueding proposed to test the strength of Yongkai's spiritual sense. Regarding this, although Yongkai felt puzzled, he did not refuse. He gathered his consciousness a little and blasted towards Gao Shueding. The other party naturally took it safely, indifferent, but he gave Yongkai a deep look, as if he saw that he was not using all his strength. In the end, Gao Shueding left something for Yongkai and left. After sending Gao Shueding away, Yongkai was at a loss, not knowing what this elder Gao wanted to do when he came to find him. Judging from the last contact with her to the land of 4 seasons, Gao Shueding is not an easy person to get along with. Her difficulty getting along with her is not because of her violent temper or bad personality, but because she is born with a cold temperament, and her face always has an expression of rejecting people thousands of miles away and not allowing strangers to enter. In fact, Yongkai can feel that Gao Shueding is not a bad person. Looking at an object in his hand, Yongkai frowned slightly, and said to himself, "There is no beginning and no end, what is this?" What he was holding in his hand was the thing that Gao Shueding gave him before he left. The thing looked like a small clock, about the size of a palm, with a halo of light, which looked extremely mysterious, and inside it also emitted not weak energy fluctuations. Gao Shueding called it Ziyuan Mask. This is a Daoyuan level low-rank secret treasure. Moreover, it is not an ordinary secret treasure, it is a secret treasure of the soul. The so-called soul treasures are often made of extremely special materials, and only warriors can control them with their spiritual thoughts, and source power has no effect on this kind of secret treasure. In terms of rarity and value, divine soul secret treasures are several grades higher than ordinary secret treasures. So don't look at this little clock as only a Daoyuan level low-grade treasure, but its real value is definitely not lower than the general Daoyuan level high-grade secret treasure, or even surpasses it. And the shape of this little bell, one can tell that it is still a defensive secret treasure. If it is refined into the body, it can protect the sea of consciousness, protect the soul, and not be hurt by foreign objects. Yang Kai really didn't have a divine soul secret treasure. When he was still very weak, he had an offensive sword, but with the improvement of his strength, that thing has long been eliminated. Moreover, he also comprehended the lotus secret technique by himself. Its attack is more powerful and mysterious than most of the secret treasures of the soul, so he has never considered collecting this type of secret treasure. The thing that Gao Shueding gave him can be regarded as making up for one of his shortcomings. With the protection of this secret treasure, and supplemented by Yang Kai's powerful spirit power, it would probably be very difficult for others to injure his sea of consciousness through a sneak attack. The so-called gift from the elders, dare not resign. Although Yang Kai is not a disciple of the temple, Gao Shueding is also a strong emperor senior realm, so when she gave Yang Kai this secret treasure, Yang Kai didn't think too much, thanked him and took it. From the looks of it now, it would take time to refine it. Zhuo is fine now, just waiting for the news, let's start refining the secret treasure. Thinking of this, Yang Kai no longer hesitated, sat down cross-legged, and his spiritual thoughts came out through his body, covering the purple sun mysterious light cover. Another dozen or so days passed by yo-yo. For the past 10 days, Yang Kai has been sitting cross-legged in the side room, not leaving an inch, trying hard to refine the Ziyangzan mask. And through these days of hard work, he can barely refine 1/3 of the restriction of this secret treasure, and can collect it into the sea of consciousness, barely able to stimulate a little bit of its power. But if you want to refine it thoroughly, it will take more time to accumulate. This Ziyangzan mask is worthy of being a Daoyuan low-grade soul treasure, and its function seems to be extremely powerful. Just now, it has turned into a layer of purple light curtain, covering the periphery of Yang Kai's sea of consciousness, forming a layer of toughness and strength, protection. If others want to hurt Yang Kai's sea of consciousness, they must first break through this layer of purple protection. Because it hasn't been refined yet, Yang Kai doesn't know if it has other functions, but this alone is enough to make people look forward to it. On this day, Yang Kai suddenly felt something, and quickly opened his eyes to look out, and at the same time he opened his eyes, a voice sounded from outside the door, shouting loudly, "Brother Yang, I'm coming to see you la." When Yang Kai heard this voice, he knew that the person who spoke was Sha Sheng. As soon as the words fell, Sha Sheng pushed the door open and entered. Another voice sounded, "Brother, he hasn't invited you in yet. If you do this, what if it interferes with his cultivation?" This person is obviously Xiao Bai. Yes, maybe junior brother Yang is comprehending some secret technique, senior brother, don't be so reckless. Murong Xiao's voice also sounded, seeming very worried. Sha Sheng couldn't help showing embarrassment when he heard the words. He was in a dilemma, scratched his head, and said in a low voice, "Then what should I do? I yelled all the time." Quote, "No problem, please come in." Yang Kai responded. The expression on Sha Sheng's face suddenly relaxed, he laughed loudly, and stepped in. "Troubleshooting," Xiao Bai muttered, and then walked in. Not long after, several people appeared in front of Yang Kai. To Yang Kai's surprise, apart from Sha Sheng, Xiao Bai and Murong Xiao, that Shen Muji was also there. He and Yang Kai are not familiar with each other, just met a few times, so at this moment, they just nodded at each other as a greeting. It was Sha Sheng who introduced them to each other enthusiastically. This guest room is already simple, so Yang Kai didn't intend to ask them to sit down, but looked at Sha Sheng and said, "You guys come together, do you have anything to tell me?" Sha Sheng nodded slightly, smiled mysteriously, and said, "The palace lord summoned me to wait. I am also included." Yang Kai frowned. The few people in front of them are the elites of Qingyang Temple, so it is natural to be summoned, but looking at the meaning of Sha Sheng's words, even himself was summoned, which made Yang Kai a little confused. "That's right," Sha Sheng nodded solemnly, and said, "The palace master specially asked me to wait here and bring brother Yang to meet him." Do you know what happened? Yang Kai asked. Good thing. Sha Sheng grinned. Xiao Bai said from the side at the moment. Didn't the palace master say that when we left last time? I think we are going this time to receive a reward. Receive the reward. Yang Kai's expression was extremely strange, but, I have already made a request to Yuewen. What else does Yuewen want to reward me? Sha Sheng smiled and said, how can that small request be worth the credit of your 6-star seals? The lord of the palace has always been very clear about rewards and punishments. Brother Yang, you have made such a huge contribution to the temple this time, it is not just a small request, can be offset. That's right. Xiao Bai nodded and said, you have also noticed that this time the palace master summoned only us, and all of us are people who have obtained extra star seals. Xiao, junior brother Shen, you can get a reward just by turning in 1-star seal, let alone turning in 6 of them at once. Let's gossip, let's go, I can't wait to know what the palace master will reward me. Sha Sheng looked impatient. Then, I'm going to ask you to lead the way. Yang Kai said politely. Immediately, a group of 5 people each performed the secret technique of movement and flew towards the main peak of Qingyang Temple. After a short time, several people arrived at Wansheng Peak and went straight to Bena Hall. However, when he crossed the gate of the palace, Yang Kai's face suddenly changed slightly. At this moment, he felt a mysterious force appearing suddenly, blessing him, and before he could react, a kind of weightlessness the feeling was passed on. And after several people passed through the palace gate, Yang Kai had disappeared. Where's Brother Yang? Sha Sheng's expression changed drastically, and he let out a voice of horror. Xiao Bai, Murong Xiao, Shen Muji and others also had expressions of horror and solemnity. Don't worry, he was called to talk alone by the palace master. A voice suddenly came from the front, and everyone looked up, and found that the person who spoke was Gao Shueding. At this moment, Elder Gao faced everyone, quietly standing like a blooming white lotus, it is clear and remote. Several people looked at each other, although they didn't know why Wen Zishan wanted to take Yang Kai away alone, but they were no longer worried, and said in unison, I have seen Elder Gao. To be continued. This text provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at Woai Xiao Wati Close Hollow Corner Bracket. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2207 Mystery Mirror. At the same time, Yang Kai appeared mysteriously in a room of the Wansheng Peak Palace. Regaining control over himself, Yang Kai immediately assumed a defensive posture and looked around. However, not far ahead, Wen Zishan was lying on a chair lazily, looking at him with a smile. I've seen Palace Master Wen. Yang Kai clasped his face and said. Wen Zishan nodded and said, you're welcome. While talking, he stood up, strolled to the table, picked up a wine bottle from the table, and then lifted a jar of wine, and filled it up for himself. In an instant, the house was full of fragrance. He took a sip, and put on an ecstatic expression, with endless aftertaste on his face. Looking at his appearance, the corners of Yang Kai's mouth twitched slightly, but he didn't bother him, just waiting quietly. After a long time, Wen Zishan seemed to have regained his senses from that refreshing energy, and with a satisfied expression on his face, he said, you should know the purpose of calling you here, right? Yang Kai pondered for a while, and said, I heard some guesses from Brother Sha. Hee. Wen Zishan smiled, the boy is very cautious. Well, I really want to reward you for calling you here. Although you made a request to this seat a few days ago, that request is not enough to offset your contribution to the temple. It's just that you are not a disciple of my temple, you are an outsider. This reward, I am very embarrassed, I have considered it for a long time. The boy is not demanding. Yang Kai smiled slightly. Wen Zishan said, what kind of reward do you want yourself? Why don't you just tell me? If you can, I can satisfy you. He threw the initiative to Yang Kai. This approach seems to be generous and open-minded, but in fact, Yang Kai knows what's going on. Because he is only a warrior of the first level of Daoyuan, but Wen Zishan is a third-level emperor, and even the leader of a faction. So something that is very precious and rare to Yang Kai may become commonplace in front of Wen Zishan. If Yang Kai proposed the content of the reward, Wen Zishan might be able to easily achieve it. How could Yang Kai be so stupid in such a rare opportunity? He naturally wouldn't miss it easily. He just said, what reward can Palace Master Wen give the boy? Hearing this, Wen Zishan showed approving eyes, and when the two eyes met, everything was kept silent. After a moment of silence, Wen Zishan said, combined with the number of star seals you handed over, I can make the decision. Open the door to the treasure house of the temple and let you enter and choose 3 things to bring out. Quote. Yang Kai's eyes suddenly brightened. What Wen Zishan said in his mouth was the gate of the treasure house of the Qingyang Temple, not his own. As one of the top sects in the southern region, the Qingyang Temple is naturally rare and countless in the treasure house. If Yang Kai can really enter it and take it away, 3 things might give him a leap in strength. And just as his heart was beating, Wen Zishan said in a provocative tone, in the treasure house of the temple, there are countless secret treasures, and there are 2 emperor treasures, but what exactly are the emperor treasures and where are they? You need to find it yourself, I will not tell you. Besides, there are all kinds of panaceas that are hard to find from the outside world, the secret code of exercises that medicine is never passed on. With your cultivation base, anyone can find it. It is a great opportunity to get the same. Furthermore, there are many cultivation experiences and experiences of Emperor Senior Realm powerhouses. Yang Kai's breathing slowly became rapid. He really didn't expect that Wen Zishan was so generous to him. No matter how you say he is an outsider, he is willing to open the door of the treasure house to him. This alone is enough to make Yang Kai grateful. However, although what Wen Zishan said is precious and rare, it still can't make Yang Kai make up his mind immediately, because Emperor Treasure is not rare for him, and he can also refine the panacea medicine by himself, which is not particularly necessary. He can also ignore the secret code or something, because even if he took it, he didn't have so much time to practice. On the contrary, it was the cultivation experience and comprehension experience of those Emperor Senior Realm powerhouses that made Yang Kai slightly tempted. These things can save him a lot of time and avoid many detours. Seeing his changing expression, Wen Zishan was a little surprised, and said, What? None of these things can attract you? Yang Kai took a deep breath and said, Forgive me, Master Wen, I just don't know how to make a decision. Wen Zishan smiled and said, I understand. Well, if you don't like these things, how about I personally teach you a mysterious technique? Yang Kai looked up at him, and said in a deep voice, Master Wen, can I ask, can Brother Sha and the others get any rewards this time? They also entered the treasure house and chose 3 things to bring out. As soon as these words came out, Wen Zishan's smile immediately became meaningful, and he stretched out his hand to point at Yang Kai and said, The kid has got the point. It seems, the rewards Brother Sha and the others can get are a little different from mine. Yang Kai said knowingly. Yes, it is indeed different. After all, they are disciples of the temple, but you are not. Wen Zishan admitted bluntly, and he was not worried about Yang Kai's emotions, because the facts are here. After all, there are still differences between people. However, he changed the subject and said, You also have a chance to get the same reward as them, but I don't know if you are willing or not. I would like to hear the details. Yang Kai looked serious. Although he didn't know what kind of reward Sha Sheng and others could get, since Wen Zishan admitted that the rewards were different, it meant that Sha Sheng and the others had better rewards. Since there is this opportunity, Yang Kai must of course fight for it. However, he was very curious, what kind of rewards could be better than entering the treasury and choosing 3 of them. Wen Zishan did not answer him immediately this time, but said, Do you know why I want to build the Qingyang Temple here? Yang Kai thought that it had happened hundreds of thousands of years ago. How would I know about this kind of thing? Although he was muttering in his heart, on the surface he put on an attitude of asking for advice. I don't know. Of course it's because there's something very special here. Wen Zishan said. A look of memory flashed in his eyes as he spoke, and he continued, 800 years ago, I accidentally passed by the Qingyang Mountains and found something. And that thing has miraculous functions and mysterious functions. I was already in the 3rd level of Emperor Senior at that time, so I wanted to collect that thing, but unfortunately I didn't succeed. I can only stay here temporarily, and as time goes by, this place gradually, the scale of the sect has grown, so I simply established the Qingyang Temple. Compared with other top sects in the southern territory, this temple has a short inheritance period, but why can it have the ability to compete with other top sects? Yang Kai's heart moved, and he whispered, Could it be because of that thing? Wen Zishan immediately showed a teachable expression, and said, Yes, although this seat is the 3rd level emperor, and the strength is not weaker than other sect masters, but the strength of a sect is not just a matter of one person, that requires a lot of mainstays to support it. The Qingyang Temple can develop to its current scale, and the role of those things is indispensable. I don't know, what is that thing? Yang Kai was very curious when he heard this, and really couldn't figure out what could make a sect flourish to such an extent. Wen Zishan stared at Yang Kai with a solemn expression, and spit out 3 words, mind travel mirror. Immediate ascension boundary. Yang Kai listened in a daze. It's not the imaginary realm you know, it's the imaginary mirror, the mirror of the mirror. Wen Zishan explained, this is a foreign object that existed at the beginning of the birth of the world. This place is very different. As for the difference, I will not explain it to you. If you have the opportunity to enter it, you will naturally know it. After entering it and practicing, warriors can also gain great strength promote. Back then, I explored it, but failed to crack the key to it. For hundreds of years, most of the elite disciples of the temple have entered it, and those who can come out alive can become much stronger. Quote, the Star God Palace has the 5-color pagoda, the Wuhua Palace has the extraterrestrial wind, and the Tianwu Holy Land has the Wuyi Palace. These are the roots of their respective sects, and they are the reasons why these sects have been standing forever. Wen Zishan with a proud look on his face, he said, and my Qingyang temple has a mirror for traveling. If the mirror for traveling is not broken, my temple will be passed on forever, and it will last forever. Boy can go in, Yang Kai asked fierily. Wen Zishan grinned, and said, originally, you are an outsider, and this lord can't let you enter it no matter what. The secret of the magic mirror, even if it is in the temple, only those who have entered know it. Other disciples never. I haven't heard of it, and as for other sects, I don't know about it. But, you have made a lot of contribution this time. If I don't let you in, it's a bit unjustifiable, but letting you in, it's against the rules. Hearing this, Yang Kai suddenly said, Master Wen, do you still remember that when I fought Shui Yi last time, you said that if I win, you will promise me a request that is not too much? Wen Zishan was startled when he heard the words, looked at Yang Kai and said, what? You want to use this request here? That's right. Yang Kai nodded and said, plus the fact that I contributed 6 star seals to the temple, it shouldn't be a problem, right? No problem, no problem. Wen Zishan pondered, you've already talked about this, but are you sure you want to do it? You don't even know what the magic mirror can bring you. Quote. Yang Kai smiled and said, since Brother Sha and the others got this reward, it means that this is the best reward. Since it is the best, why should I hesitate? Okay. Wen Zishan snorted, in that case, I agree to you, but you also have to make an oath that you will not reveal the secret of the immortal mirror to anyone in this life, otherwise. Boy understand. Yang Kai nodded, and immediately made a solemn oath in front of Wen Zishan. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2208 Melting Cave. Half a day later, Yang Kai returned to Feiyan Peak from Wen Zishan. During this half day, Wen Zishan explained to Yang Kai the mysteries of the Divine Travel Mirror in detail. The more Yang Kai knew about the Divine Travel Mirror, the more amazed that such a rare treasure could be born in this world, and such a mysterious space existed. What Wen Zishan said is right, as long as he can enter the immortal mirror and come out alive, it will greatly improve any warrior. This kind of improvement is not purely an improvement in strength, but the foundation of the whole person. The improvement in ability is of great significance to any warrior. And at this point, he finally understood why Gao Shueding came to him suddenly a few days ago and gave him a purple sun mask before leaving. I gave myself a divine soul defense secret treasure in order to give Yang Kai an extra layer of security after entering the immortal travel mirror. Thinking of this, Yang Kai's heart skipped a beat. After thinking for a while, he revealed a wry smile and said in a low voice, ginger is still old and spicy. The reason why he said this was because he wanted to understand one thing. Wen Zishan and the others had already negotiated about 10 days ago when he entered the immortal mirror. But today, Palace Master Wen made it difficult, and repeatedly pointed out that the rewards Sha Sheng and others received were different from Yang Kai's, in order to lure Yang Kai to use up his previous promise. In other words, even if Yang Kai didn't use Wen Zishan to promise him a promise that wasn't too much to ask, he should be able to enter the visionary mirror. Things have come to this point, regret is useless. Yang Kai felt that he should thank Wen Zishan instead. He opened up the big secret of Qingyang Temple to an outsider, so that he had the opportunity to enter the immortal travel mirror. So what if the promise is used up? Tomorrow he was going to enter the immortal mirror, so after Yang Kai returned to Feiyan Peak, he was not in a hurry to refine the Ziyangzan mask, because it took only half a day. No matter how much he sacrificed it, it would not have much effect. he just sat cross-legged quietly, adjusting his state to the best. The next day, early in the morning, Yang Kai opened his eyes gleaming, obviously rested well. Immediately, he set off towards a certain direction deep in the Qingyang Mountains. About half an hour later, at the foot of a peak, Yang Kai fell down. On the open space over there were already 4 figures standing tall. Yang Kai swept his eyes and found that those 4 people were Sha Sheng, Xiao Bai and others. Murong Xiaoxiao and Shen Muji were also among them. Ha! I knew, Brother Yang would definitely come. Sha Sheng saw Yang Kai, and looked over with a big laugh. Xiao Bai's eyes showed shock, because he thought that the matter of the immortal travel mirror was related to the secrets of the sect, and Yang Kai, an outsider, no matter how great his credit, would not have the opportunity to enter, but he didn't want his palace master to be so generous. Junior Brother Yang. Murong Xiaoxiao smiled at Yang Kai and nodded in greeting. Brother Yang. Shen Muji also clasped his fists slightly. Although he and Yang Kai are not familiar yet, at least they have spoken a few words, and this trip everyone is going to enter the mirror, and each other to support and help each other. There is no problem in establishing a good relationship in advance. Yang Kai also clasped his fists in response, met everyone one by one, exchanged a few words with them, and then changed the subject, saying, "Are we the only ones entering this time? No elders leading the team?" Sha Sheng smiled and said, "Of course there are. It is said that the danger in the immortal mirror is not small, and the temple is not worried that we, the Daoyuan realm, will enter alone. They should send the elders of the Emperor Prestige realm to help. I just don't know who it is." Shen Muji laughed. Sha Sheng's face darkened, and he muttered, "Don't be Elder Gao." The last time he went to the Land of 4 Seasons, on the way back and forth, he was thrown off the boat by Gao Shueding, and he was quite afraid of Gao Shueding. After finishing speaking, Sha Sheng turned his head suspiciously again, looked at Murong Xiaoxiao, and said with a puzzled expression, "Xiaoxiao, didn't you have a good rest last night? Why are your eyelids twitching?" "No," Murong Xiaoxiao replied in a low voice, with an anxious expression on her face. HMPH. Xiao Bai snorted coldly, and turned his gaze elsewhere, while Shen Muji and Yang Kai looked up at the sky, and looked down at the ground. Sha Sheng suddenly seemed to understand something, and his whole body shivered involuntarily. At the back, a chill came over, as if there was a peerless demon standing behind him. The tall figure covered the world, making Sha Sheng feel as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. "Ha ha," he laughed dryly, "what did I just say?" Before he finished speaking, there was a huge pain in his head, as if he had been hit hard by someone, and then he threw himself on the ground, crawling there in a big shape, motionless. "All come with me," Gao Shueding said lightly, then turned around and flew upwards. "Yes." Several people responded and followed behind Gao Shueding. When Murong Xiaoxiao was about to leave, she gave Sha Sheng a sympathetic look, but she didn't have the guts to pull him up, so she could only silently pray for her brother in her heart. Along the way, Gao Shueding didn't say a word, which made several disciples feel great pressure. For some reason, when they got along with Gao Chaoting, all the disciples couldn't help but smile uncontrollably, as if they were caught by her cold air. The field was shocked. Not long after, everyone came to the peak. And on the top of this peak, there is a cliff facing the abyss, flat and smooth. Gao Shueding just volleyed and stopped in front of the cliff. Yang Kai and the others stood about 3 feet away from Gao Shueding, and they all looked at the place curiously. It is understandable for Yang Kai Hui to be curious, because he is not a disciple of Qingyang Temple, and everything in this place is extremely unfamiliar, but Xiao Bai and others are different. Although they have lived in Qingyang Temple for many years, they have been here. Shi Shui has passed by this place many times, but he has never paid much attention to it. He only thought it was an ordinary mountain, but he didn't expect that this place actually hides a big secret. After entering the room later, "Don't look at what you shouldn't, don't say what you shouldn't say," Gao Shueding suddenly warned, "especially you." Speaking of the last sentence, her majestic gaze has already turned to Sha Sheng, who is hiding behind Murong Xiaoxiao. I don't know when he caught up. The disciple has become dumb now. Sha Sheng immediately reached out and stroked his mouth when he heard it, as if his mouth was sewn up with invisible needles and threads. Only then did Gao Shueding turn her head, facing the flat cliff, and said coquettishly, "Grandma Yu is here." Shueding was ordered by the suzerain to bring a few disciples into the mirror, and ask her to open the restriction. Her tone was extremely polite, even when facing Wen Zishan and Chu Ran, she had never been so polite. That's all for Wen Zishan. Gao Shueding seems to be brought up by Wen Zishan, The relationship between the two is very close, and when Zigen often makes some words and deeds that make Gao Shueting angry, so naturally she doesn't respect Gao Shueting, but as the vice master of the Qingyang Temple, Chu Ran has a second-tier emperor senior cultivation base, and she has never been treated so politely by Gao Shueting. And, Yang Kai faintly felt that apart from being polite, Gao Shueting's expression also had a hint of caution and nervousness. Coupled with her self-proclaimed words, as if she was a junior, Yang Kai immediately speculated that this Granny Yu, who guards the forbidden area, should be an antique-level figure, and her temper should be extremely bad. This speculation made Yang Kai slightly surprised, because he didn't expect that there was such a person in this Qingyang temple. After Gao Shueting yelled out the words, she kept waiting. After half a stick of incense, a ray of light suddenly flashed on the cliff in front of him, and then, a cave appeared on the cliff that was originally empty. Seeing this, Gao Shueting whispered to everyone, "Everyone follow." Only then did he shake his body and rush towards the cave, followed by the others. After entering the cave, a gloomy and cold atmosphere immediately enveloped everyone. Even though the people present with the lowest strength were all at Daoyuan level, they still involuntarily felt cold and had goosebumps all over their bodies. The cave was quiet and the light was weak. Gao Shueting led the way, and everyone followed closely behind. No one spoke, and even the sound of breathing was suppressed to the limit by each of them. Only the faint sound of heartbeat kept ringing, adding to the strange atmosphere. The road in the cave has 9 twists and 18 bends, and it seems that Gao Shueting and the others have been walking towards the belly of the mountain. After walking for a long time, a light suddenly appeared in front of him. After a while, everyone came directly to a spacious and huge cave. Looking around, the cave is neat and monotonous, and there are not many things, but in the very center, there is a shining side, about the size of a tabletop, standing there like a mirror. Everyone couldn't help but startled, and immediately understood that it was the rumored magic mirror, and all of them looked there, wanting to see clearly. But when everyone cast their gazes away, they found that the fugue mirror was extremely mysterious. The originally flat mirror suddenly turned into a huge vortex, emitting an unimaginable attraction. Immediately afterwards, everyone's sea of consciousness rolled. He was restless, as if his soul was about to be sucked away. Turned pale with shock, everyone quickly looked away. No one dared to pay attention to that weird existence anymore, and everyone broke out in a cold sweat. Young people always have to suffer a little to realize how small they are. Suddenly, an ear-piercing sound resounded, echoing in this spacious cave, making people feel like claws scratching their hearts and feeling uncomfortable all over. If you really want to describe it, the sound is like the sound made when 2 pieces of iron are rubbed together. After Yang Kai and the others heard it, their scalps felt numb for a while. And with the sound of the voice, a figure appeared in front of everyone so strangely. No one found out exactly when she appeared. It seemed that even Gao Shueting's internal energy subconsciously surged at the moment this person appeared, but it quickly subsided. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at woixiaowati. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2209 Granny Yu. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind Martial Peak, listen to your more suggestions on the novel, pay attention to the official account of the starting point, add friends on WeChat, add official account, enter QDread, and tell me quietly. It's May Day, I wish you all a good time, and friends who are still at work will also have a happy life. By the way, ask for a monthly ticket. I've seen my mother-in-law. Gao Shueting said with a solemn face, cupping her fists at the figure. Yang Kai and the others also hurriedly looked towards the person who came, and found that Granny Yu's figure was extremely short, only reaching Yang Kai's chest. With a hunched waist and a crutch in her hand, the whole person looked weak and trembling, towering. And Granny Yu's face can't be described with just one ugly word. Her face is full of potholes, traces of years of erosion, countless wrinkles, and even many age spots on the face. It seems that she has not lived long, already. There is only a pair of green eyes, which are burning with energy, and when they meet those eyes, everyone's heart trembles. With such honor in eyes, the first word that comes to mind is ferocious. Mirong Xiao, who was a little less courageous, already had a pretty face that turned pale, and even Yang Kai and the men were all uncomfortable. But when they came in front of them, they didn't dare to be rude, and immediately clasped their fists together and shouted, "I have seen the senior." Granny Yu nodded slightly, and didn't express much, just swept her eyes away. At the same time, an almost suffocating divine thought swept over everyone's bodies. Yang Kai was shocked and looked at the old woman in front of him in shock. Because he found that the other party's divine sense was unbelievably powerful, even compared to Dianfeng he had met before, it was no different. And Dianfeng is a strong person at the 3rd level of Emperor Senior. He is a character comparable to Wen Zishan in strength. But the energy fluctuations emitted by Granny Yu should not reach the 3rd level of Emperor Senior. According to Yang Kai's experience, she should only be at the 1st level of Emperor Senior. In other words, although this old woman only has the cultivation base of Emperor Senior level 1. But the divine sense is comparable to the 3rd level of Emperor Senior, and I don't know if it's because of his extraordinary talent, or because he has been guarding the divine travel mirror all the year round. Yang Kai secretly felt that the possibility of the latter was huge, because according to Wen Zishan, the greatest magical effect of the immortal travel mirror is to enhance the martial artist's spiritual sense. She guards the fugue mirror here all the year round. He must have also benefited greatly from this rare treasure. Hey! After sweeping through the crowd with her divine sense, Granny Yu suddenly turned her gaze to Yang Kai, as if she had discovered something. Jia laughed strangely and said, "The little guy is a bit interesting." Gao Shueting glanced at Yang Kai, her eyebrows slightly frowned. But he didn't say much. And Granny Yu didn't comment on Yang Kai after she just made this statement, she just said in that piercing voice, "Others are just so-so." Gao Shueting cupped her fists and said, "Grandma Lao sent them into the mirror. HMPH, that little bastard Wen Zishan knows how to order my old lady around." Granny Yu suddenly cursed angrily after hearing the words. Yang Kai and the others were startled at the time, staring at the old woman in front of them dumbfounded. The face is full of incredible. After all, Wen Zishan is also the master of the Qingyang Temple. Since this Granny Yu was ordered to guard the forbidden area here, it is obvious that she should also be a member of the temple. As a warrior of the temple, how dare to speak so rudely, calling the temple master a little beast in front of so many people. No matter how you think about it, you don't think it's right. And Granny Nao turned her head after she finished cursing, glared at the few people with eagle-like sharp eyes, and said viciously, "What? He trapped the old woman here. Can the old woman scold him? Do you have any opinions?" Everyone quickly turned their heads into rattles, only feeling that this sentence is very informative. The other side, Gao Shueting frowned, and said, "Grandma, you are here only because of the bet with the palace master, why do you? What do you know?" Granny Yu's temper was indeed very bad. After scolding Wen Zishan, she got angry at Gao Shueting again, and said excitedly, "You were just a little girl back then, what do you know? Wen Zishan, this bastard, if it wasn't for the old woman not being his opponent, he would have already been torn to pieces." She seemed to recall something very bad, so she began to curse endlessly. While cursing, she thumped the crutch in her hand, and the whole cave made a loud noise. Yang Kai and the others stood where they were, looking terrified, fearing that the old woman would lose her mind and attack them. Judging from her powerful divine sense comparable to that of Emperor Senior, if she really did something suddenly, Gao Shueting might not be able to protect them. But fortunately, although Granny Yu was very angry, she hadn't lost her mind yet, so she just scolded for a while, then suddenly shut up, standing where she was panting, as if she was tired. And Gao Shueting's face was also extremely ugly, suppressing the impatience in her heart. She didn't dare to interrupt her rashly, and only waited for her to finish cursing before saying, "Mother-in-law, let's send them in first." "I know," the old woman replied impatiently, turned her head to look at Gao Shueting and said, "Do you want to go in this time?" Gao Shueting replied, "Yes." "Well, then you can each find a stone room." After Granny Yu finished speaking, she suddenly pointed her crutch forward. Following the direction she pointed, Yang Kai and the others noticed that around the mysterious mirror, there were man-made stone rooms standing all around, and a prohibition token was hung on the door of each stone room. Roughly counting, there are a total of 10 stone chambers in the shape of a semicircle surrounding the fugue mirror. Gao Shueting explained, "I think you all already know how to enter the immortal mirror. It is a place that only the soul and spirit body can enter. Therefore, after we enter the forbidden area, the physical body cannot move. These stone rooms were built by the hall master himself. Well, during the period of your spiritual consciousness traveling through the mirror, as long as you open the restriction, you can keep yourself safe. Without the restriction token or the temple master himself, no one can destroy the stone chamber and damage your physical body." Everyone listened and nodded to express their understanding. "Isn't it just to guard against the old lady?" Granny Yu snorted dissatisfiedly again. Evil smile said. Since you are so worried about the old woman, why not just kill me? Why do you have to add a heavy responsibility? Let the old woman guard this forbidden place. She was talking to herself, but no one paid any attention to her. But Yang Kai and others knew that she was telling the truth. Wen Zishan specially built these stone chambers. Protecting those disciples whose souls and spirits enter the mirror is probably to guard against Granny Yu. After all, Granny Yu seems too dangerous, and no one knows what she will do. If everyone damages their bodies when they enter the mirror, then everyone will be punished for life. Trapped in the fugue mirror and unable to come out. Between her words, everyone has already found a stone room, took the prohibition token hanging on the door, and walked in. Gao Shueding did not enter in a hurry, but stood where she was, explaining to everyone how to use the prohibition token. Not long, everyone has understood it, and they are about to close the gate of the stone chamber, and activate the restriction token to open the restriction of their respective stone chambers. After they were all healed, Gao Shueding chose an unoccupied stone room and walked in. Before closing the door, she said, Lady Lao will be here next. You don't need to talk nonsense. Granny Yu replied. Gao Shueding stopped talking and opened the restraint to wait quietly. Xiaoqing, Granny Yu, holding a cane, came to stand still in front of the magic mirror, and all of a sudden, she threw away her crutches and opened her arms. At the same time, a wave of spiritual thoughts surged out like a sea, and poured into the magic mirror. She was chanting words, as if she was chanting some spells. But if you listen carefully, you can't hear why. And with her actions, immediately, the dazzling divine light erupted from the originally radiant fugue mirror. At this moment, sitting cross-legged in the stone room, Yang Kai and the others who were waiting were also shrouded in a ray of light. In that ray, everyone felt a very uncomfortable feeling. This feeling was like their own souls were about to leave their bodies, which made people panic and uneasy. But everyone did not resist, because this phenomenon is extremely normal, and every warrior who enters the mirror will have this experience. The huge fugue mirror suddenly spun, and it turned faster and faster, gradually forming a frenzy of energy, sweeping all directions, flying sand and rocks in the molten cave in an instant, and those broken stones hit the stone chamber and the cave wall, emitting there was a clicking sound. Shish! 6 beams of light flew out of the 6 stone chambers, directly entered the spinning mirror, and disappeared. At the same time, Yang Kai and the others flashed across the surface of the fugue mirror. Granny Yu, who was casting a spell, suddenly opened her eyes, as if she had discovered something. She stared at the magic mirror, and exclaimed in surprise, Impossible! Impossible! There is such a treasure on that kid! Is the old man wrong? After the words fell, she clasped her hands together and slapped them hard in the middle. The spinning mirror immediately stabilized and returned to its original state. But Granny Yu was pale, with cold sweat on her head, and her already short stature became even more stooped, as if opening it this time was a huge consumption for her. Damn it, hate it! She roared, Wen Zishan, you spared my life because you need to be driven by the divine sense of the Emperor's 3rd level to activate the magic mirror. Don't think that the old lady doesn't know your sinister intentions. Sooner or later I want you to pay the price. After she finished speaking, she quickly sat down cross-legged, tremblingly took out some panacea from her space ring, and stuffed it into her mouth like eating jelly beans. Regardless of whether the old woman has misread it or not, it is necessary to go in and verify it. If it is really that thing, Wen Zishan, you are finished, ha ha, ha 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 ha. She spoke wildly for a while, but it turned out to be crazy, laughed out loud. At the same moment, Wen Zishan looked into the distance at Wansheng Peak. Chen Qian was by her side. When the wave of divine sense belonging to the 3rd level of Emperor Zun came, Chen Qian said, it seems that Sister Gao and the others have already entered. Wen Zishan nodded and said, everything is going well. Hall Master. Chen Qian suddenly turned her head to look at Wen Zishan. Actually, there is something I don't know about my subordinates. Add friends on WeChat, add official account, enter QDread, join now. Everyone has a prize, now immediately follow QDread WeChat official account. To be continued. Chapter 2210 The World Inside the Mirror. Oh, is there something Xiaoqianshin doesn't understand? I thought you were a kid and knew everything. Wen Zishan said with a half smile. Chen Qian gave him an angry look immediately, and said, Hall Master, Sister Gao was brought up by you alone, there is nothing wrong with you talking to her in this tone, but I am not. If you are so old-fashioned, be careful in the future, really be a bachelor for the rest of my life. Wen Zishan immediately broke out in cold sweat, and said uncomfortably, well, let's change the subject, what did you want to ask just now? Back then, why didn't you kill Grandma Yu? Chen Qian said solemnly with a solemn expression. Wen Zishan's expression suddenly became serious, he pondered for a moment, and replied, it's not that I don't want to kill, but I can't. Chen Qian wondered, this subordinate is puzzled. Wen Zishan said, when I first came to Qingyang Mountains, I settled here because I discovered the magic mirror. At that time, that old thing had already guarded the magic mirror. I have lived here before. When I first saw that rare treasure, I was naturally delighted to see it, and I wanted to take a look, but you are not ignorant of the old man's temper, and you don't agree with anything. In the end, you have to, my lord, fight her. The result is that you won and Granny you lost. Yes. Wen Zishan nodded, although my spiritual sense is almost the same as hers, she is only at the first level of Emperor Zun. In terms of overall strength, I am stronger. At that time I found out that the old guy is not a good thing, with a cruel heart and cruel methods. If I can get rid of her, I will not be merciful. But after all, she has been with Shen Yuzheng for so long, and it seems that she has mastered a little bit of the mystery of Shen Yuzheng. Use the magic mirror to fight against the enemy, but you can use the special magic gate to close the magic mirror. If you are in a hurry, and she closes that strange treasure, even if I succeed, it will be useless. Hearing this, Chen Qian understood a little bit, nodded lightly and said, it turns out that the palace master has some scruples. That's right, Wen Zishan said, so I made an agreement with her that I won't take her life, and I won't touch the magic mirror, but when I need to use the magic mirror, she must cooperate. Chen Qian looked stunned. No wonder. When I went to the Immortal mirror to practice, Granny Yu acted reluctantly but had to open it. So there is another reason for this. It's not just you. Wen Zishan chuckled, which time did you turn on the magic mirror, isn't that old thing like this? She always regards the magic mirror as her own private property, how can she allow others to touch it? At this point, Wen Zishan snorted again. Over the years, although she is still cooperative, I don't know how many times she has tampered with it, and ruined the lives of many elites in my temple. Hearing this, Chen Qian's pretty face changed, she stared at Wen Zishan in horror and said, the palace master means. Wen Zishan sneered, and said, she thought she did it without anyone noticing it, but in fact everything is under my control. But, she didn't do too much, so I don't bother to expose her. But those disciples who died. Chen Qian showed heartache. Wen Zishan let out a long sigh, that's a kind of test. If you pass it, you will naturally become stronger. If you fail it, you can only fall. Everyone's destiny is just man-made. Chen Qian looked scared, patted her chest and said, fortunately, I passed that year. After a pause, she asked again, Master, why are you willing to let an outsider enter the fugue mirror this time? The biggest secret of the temple, even most of the disciples of the temple don't know. No reason, just want to test his ability. Wen Zishan smiled slightly. Chen Qian said, because of the Emperor Hongqian, right? That kid came with the token of the Emperor Hongqian, and I heard that you, the palace master, were brought up by the Emperor Hongqian. Absolutely nothing. Wen Zishan suddenly became anxious, stared at Chen Qian and said, I grew up eating a meal from Bai Chao's family, and I have nothing to do with that old guy Hongqian. Oh, it's trying to cover up. Chen Qian pursed her lips and smiled. I'm talking nonsense. There is no silver 300 taels here. Shao Qianqin. Wen Zishan suddenly softened his voice and called out affectionately. Chen Qian's pretty face suddenly changed, and she said anxiously, Master, this subordinate remembers that there are other matters, so let's take a step first. While speaking, she was already out of Wen Zishan's sight. Past experience and experience told her that when Wen Zishan wanted to change the topic and talk to herself in this tone, she had better run away immediately, otherwise, she would definitely be tortured to death. HMPH, the chick is too young, she dares to fight with the old man, she really can't control herself, ha 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 ha. Wen Zishan proudly revealed an expression of being invincible in the world, unbearably cold in the heights, and lonely as snow, and burst out a creepy laugh. ... In the strange space, 6 figures appeared one after another. The appearance of these 6 figures all turned from imaginary to real, and gradually solidified. The whole process was extremely strange and weird. After the 6 figures solidified, each of the 6 figures groaned with difficulty, as if they were extremely uncomfortable. But soon, everyone slowed down. They turned their heads and looked around, looking at each other. Is this the world of the immortal traveling mirror? Sha Sheng asked in surprise. Body, it feels a little different. Murong Xiao said with a slight frown. It should be because of the soul and spirit body. Xiao Bai continued. It's hard to get used to it. Shen Muji also complained. Yang Kai didn't speak, just clenched his fists lightly, feeling that this body is different from usual. As far as I can see, the other people are basically the same as the ones I saw outside. Whether it is appearance or clothing, they are exactly the same as before. However, if you look carefully, you can find that everyone here is incorporeal. In other words, everyone is condensed from pure energy at this moment. Although they are condensed into a materialized form, no entity means no entity. As I told you before, Gao Shueding got used to it very quickly. It seems that it is because she has been here before, or because she is stronger. The body is still on the side of the stone room in the cave. The world in the magic mirror is all composed of energy, so here we can quickly and efficiently increase the strength of our soul. If a warrior's spiritual consciousness is strong, he can understand the exercises, the speed of practicing secret arts will also be greatly increased, and there are countless other benefits. Spiritual consciousness is the most important foundation of a warrior besides the physical body, so this trip is an extremely rare experience for you, and if you can raise your divine sense to a certain level here, it will be easier for you to advance to the Emperor realm in the future. Disciple understands. Xiao Bai and the others clasped their fists in response. The energy in the world of Shenyujing is also very different from the outside world. When we practice outside, the aura of heaven and earth we absorb will be transformed into our own source power and improve our strength. But here, if we practice, the absorbed energy will strengthen the consciousness. I think you should feel this now. Gao Shueding continued. Everyone nodded slightly. Yang Kai really felt that the energy of this strange world is completely different from the outside world. The energy wandering around is sucked into his body by him, which can strengthen the strength of his own soul and spirit body, making the soul more tenacious and powerful. If you want to strengthen your spiritual consciousness, besides practicing here, you can also kill the nearby creatures. Is there another creature here? Xiao Bai's face changed slightly. Gao Shueding glanced at him and said, this is a strange world, why are there no other creatures? Xiao Bai was immediately speechless when asked. Gao Shueding went on to say, according to the palace master, the immortal mirror is a rare treasure that was born when the world first opened. It has its own world inside. Although it is not as vast as the star realm, and it is not even as big as the southern territory, it is a world, so it has its own vitality. Here, there are people, there are monsters, there are all of them in the star world. It's just that they are all condensed by the soul, and, they don't seem to be knowing this, they think the world is like this, and they have never experienced the feeling of having a physical body. Here, I want to remind you, try to avoid any contact with outsiders. There are many powerful beings in the mirror, those existences are not something you can provoke. However, if you can kill the creatures that are malicious to you, you can absorb their energy. The energy here is very pure, and can be accepted by our spirit and spirit body to a large extent, and strengthen our spirit. Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. If you explain it this way, you may not quite understand it, so just find one to test it, and then you should understand. While speaking, Gao Shueding had already closed her beautiful eyes, and the powerful divine sense of the first level of Emperor Zun was leisurely out, radiating towards the surroundings. After a while, she opened her eyes and said, all follow me. While speaking, he had already galloped away, and everyone stepped up to keep up. This place is a plain, the grass is long, the eagle is fat, the birds are singing and the flowers are fragrant, but there is no sun in the sky, but the whole world is full of light, and I don't know where the light comes from. The crowd followed Gao Shueding for about 10 miles, when a monster-like existence suddenly appeared in front of them. Several people looked around and found that the monster was a kind they had never seen before. It looked like a wild beast, but it was huge, as high as a story, with 2 curled fangs, extremely ferocious. The spiritual thoughts of several Daoyuan realm covered the past in an instant. After some investigation, it was found that this monster was about the peak of the 10th order. In other words, it was equivalent to a monster equivalent to the peak of the Void King realm, beast. Naturally, these monsters are not looked down upon by everyone, but they are just used as experiments to facilitate Gao Shueding's explanation. It seems that Gao Shueding's choice of target is also targeted. Chapter 2211 Belongings. And when everyone's divine thoughts swept past, the wild boar-like monster obviously also had insight, turned around in an instant, stared at everyone with a pair of scarlet eyes. Immediately afterwards, it moved its four hooves, its huge body rolled up a gust of wind, and rushed towards the place where everyone was, full of murderous aura. Sha Shang, I will leave this red-eyed evil pig to you to deal with. Gao Shueding said lightly. Then, the disciple is on the way. Sha Shang also looked upright when he heard the words, and with a little step, he rushed towards the red-eyed evil pig. He obviously understood that Gao Shueding wanted him to fight the monster so that she could explain it in more detail, so he didn't refuse. In the blink of an eye, one person and one beast approached to a distance of about 10 feet. However, Sha Shang paused, his waist sank slightly, and the big horse stood on the spot, with one hand flat on his chest, and the other slowly pushed forward, shouting loudly, Big Hunyuan Palm. Because I don't know if the combat power of monsters in this world is the same as outside, so Sha Shang uses a secret technique every time he makes a move, and he doesn't underestimate the red-eyed evil pig because it is only a top 10th rank. Well, because we entered this world as souls and spirit bodies, most of the secret techniques we usually practice are useless here. Gao Shueding's words resounded in everyone's ears. Several people nodded thoughtfully. On the other side, Sha Shang's face changed slightly, because he didn't hit anything with this secret technique, it was just an empty air. After hearing Gao Shueding's words, he immediately realized that he had made a big mistake. In the blink of an eye, the red-eyed evil pig had rushed about 3 feet in front of him. He was unflappable even in the face of danger, stretching out his hand towards the void, as if he wanted to take out some secret treasure, and shouted aggressively, Don't be so arrogant, you evil beast, take your life. Gao Shueding said again. The secret treasure is also unusable, because the activation of general secret treasures requires the cooperation of source power and physical body. When her voice fell this time, Sha Shang over there yelled, Oh my god. When shouting, he turned around and ran towards Gao Shueding, shouting in a hurry, Elder Gao, help. Gao Shueding looked at him coldly, and said with a sneer, It's too much acting, although I know that you are doing this to let them understand the strangeness of this world, but, are you insulting your own IQ or insulting you? The IQ of your junior and junior sisters. Solve it quickly. Obey. Sha Shang turned around in an instant when he heard that, and when he beckoned, a secret treasure in the shape of a long knife suddenly appeared in his hand. There were unusual power fluctuations on the secret treasure, which was obviously a spiritual treasure. Sha Shang activated his divine thoughts, poured them into it, and chopped off at the red-eyed pig. There are no too gorgeous moves, no graceful posture, just a simple and direct blow through the use of power. The blade flashed, and there was a miserable howl. The energy is violent and moves towards the 4 poles. The red-eyed evil pig was directly divided into 2 halves by the knife. Because of inertia, the huge body still rushed forward a long way before suddenly falling to the ground. Sha Shang put away his knife and stood there, with a cold and unrestrained expression on his face. There was no blood, no foul-smelling internal organs. After the red-eyed evil pig was beheaded, it just lay quietly on the ground. Under the eyes of everyone, its body gradually faded, as if it turned into energy and dissipated in this world. And at the place where half of its corpse disappeared, there was actually a little yellowish light cluster about the size of a mung bean. Everyone couldn't help but look over in amazement, and Yongkai and others couldn't help but be moved under the glance of divine sense. Because they discovered that this mung bean-sized yellowish light group actually contained extremely pure energy of the soul. This energy seemed to be free from any impurities, and it was so pure that it was unimaginable. This is the origin of the soul. Gao Shueding explained, in this world, every creature has its own origin of the soul. As long as it is killed, the origin of the soul will be left behind, allowing us to easily absorb and strengthen the soul. When she was speaking, Sha Shang had already rushed to the source of the soul and stretched out his hand to hold it. It's strange to say that when he grasped it, the source of the soul was directly fused with his palm and merged into his body. Sha Shang closed his eyes immediately, showing a relaxed and helpless expression. After a while, he opened his eyes again, and shouted, Sweet. Gao Shueding said lightly, According to my estimation, such a mass of spiritual origin is roughly equivalent to 7 or 8 days of penance for you. When Yongkai and the others heard this, their eyes lit up. The source of spirit and soul left behind by a 10th level peak monster beast is enough for people to obtain such great benefits, but what about 11th level monsters? At least it will take a month or 2, right? 1 is so many, 10 is about a year, and 100 is about 100 years. It is unimaginable that 100 years of closed-door cultivation and increased spiritual strength can be achieved with only the sole origin of 111th order monsters. Don't get excited too early. Gao Shueding poured cold water on everyone at this time. Although the souls left by these creatures after death are very pure and easy for us to absorb, it is still a kind of external force does not come from self-cultivation, so if you feel any discomfort in yourself, you must stop absorbing it, otherwise it is very likely to cause insanity and the consequences will be unimaginable. Everyone's expressions were stunned, and only then did they realize that this kind of absorption is not unlimited, but it's not obvious. Of course, if you can find the soul jade, that's another matter. Gao Shueding said again. Soul jade. Yang Kai looked at her suspiciously, and the others were also puzzled. It is a unique product of this world. It is condensed from the purest spirit energy. Its manifestation in this world is a kind of jade, which can be absorbed without any worries. This kind of thing, no matter how much it absorbs, it will not appear. Question. Gao Shueding explained, I have entered this place 4 times before and after, but so far, I have only obtained a piece of middle-grade soul jade. Even in this world, soul jade is extremely rare. Hearing this, everyone immediately understood that the soul jade is probably something that can't be found. In addition, here, there is a thing called soul crystal. Although it is only one word different from soul jade, it is 2 completely different things. Have a more intuitive understanding of this world, you can understand soul crystals as our source crystals. It is the hard currency for trading in this world. Although it can also be used for cultivation, the effect is not ideal. Disciple understands. Sha Sheng and the others nodded solemnly. In this strange world, there are many strange products. Most of these things are of great help to the soul. If you have the chance to meet them, you will understand. Gao Shueding glanced around and said calmly. In addition, through Sha Sheng's battle just now, you should have seen that here, the only things that can be used here are the secret treasures of the soul and the secret art of the soul. I can't bring them here, but things related to the spirit can go freely, so let's check each other and see what we have that can be used, so as not to be caught off guard by a strong enemy. After her words fell, everyone immediately began to check. Yang Kai's spiritual sense scanned his body, and immediately found the purple chalk Yangshuan mask that Gao Shueding gave him before. This is a divine soul secret treasure, it can be brought into the world of the immortal travel mirror of course. Yang Kai just pushed the power a little, and a layer of purple light curtain appeared on the body surface, which seemed extremely strong. However, apart from the divine soul secret treasure that would naturally be brought in, Yang Kai also discovered several other things that he had never thought of. Warming God Lotus. Yang Kai stared speechlessly at a certain place in his body, the lotus blooming with colorful light, and said in his heart, although Wenshan Lian is not a secret treasure, it is related to the soul, and has always been placed in the consciousness. In the middle of the sea, it is natural to be brought in, but why did these guys follow in? The guys he was referring to were obviously the soul-eating worms he had obtained in the Tongshuan continent in his early years. He has obtained these soul-eating worms for countless years, because of the special attribute of the fire of his consciousness, so he is not afraid of this nemesis of the soul, but with the effect of the warming lotus, he can drive them to fight for him. And over the years, the soul-eating worms have been raised on the colorful treasure island transformed by the warming lotus, nourished by the warming lotus, and have become stronger and stronger. The most important thing is, the last time outside Fenggalan City, when Yang Kai was possessed by demons, these soul-eating worms had violently once. At that time, they crazily devoured the magic essence of the ancient trolls in Yang Kai's consciousness. As a result, a huge change has taken place, turning into a pitch-black color. All of them are full of vicious and violent feelings, and they are not easy to mess with at first glance. At this moment, this incalculable soul-eating insect also came to this place with the Wenshan Lian, entrenched on top of the Wenshan Lian, and warmed in Yang Kai's soul and spirit body. When he found these soul-eating insects, Yang Kai couldn't help but turn dark. Without him, if these guys are exposed, Gao Shueding should be able to think of that ancient troll very quickly, because at that time outside Fenggalan City, Yang Kai fought Gao Shueding with a demon body. For this unique power, how could Gao Shueding, such an emperor senior realm, not remember? If one is not good, Gao Shueding may recognize Yang Kai as the monster of the day. At that time, Yang Kai will be speechless. Thinking of this, Yang Kai secretly decided, no matter what, he couldn't let these soul eaters appear in front of Gao Shueding, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. After checking the warming god lotus and the soul eater, Yang Kai saw another thing in his soul spirit body, something he had never thought of before. This thing can be considered a divine soul treasure. I never knew it. Chapter 2212 Sky Demon Mountain. What Yang was referring to was a saber that he hadn't fully refined and basically never used. Unexpectedly, it also passed through the magic mirror, and came here with its own soul and spirit body. This discovery made Yang Kai both shocked and a little surprised, because it had been many years since he had obtained this knife, and it was the first time he knew that this thing was actually a treasure of the soul, and now that he had this knife by his side, maybe in some critical situations moments can do wonders. Between the changes in his mind, Yang Kai's appearance remained the same. Gao Shueding took a look at him, observed the degree of protection of his Ziyangzan mask, and nodded slightly. After all, she had only given this secret treasure to Yang Kai not long ago, and it was extremely rare to be able to refine it in such a short period of time. After a while, Gao Shueding saw that everyone was almost done checking, and then she said, "Next, I will take you to a place, which is the training place for every disciple of the temple. Absolutely don't run around." Yes, everyone suddenly agreed. But Sha Sheng was keenly aware of something, looked at Gao Shueding suspiciously and said, "Elder Gao is not with us." Judging from what she said, Gao Shueding seemed to be only responsible for sending everyone there, and would not stay there. Gao Shueding shook her head and said, "I have other important things to do, but don't worry, that training place is not too dangerous. As long as you keep yourselves safe, you won't have any major problems." Understood. Sha Sheng nodded solemnly. "Elder Gao, please rest assured, there are disciples here, and they will be kept safe." Gao Shueding glanced at him approvingly, waved her plain hand, and said, "Let's go." While speaking, he galloped in a certain direction. Everyone hastily followed. Along the way, she would occasionally meet a few monsters blocking the way. Whenever this happened, Gao Shueding would let one of Yang Kai and the others go down to fight, so as to familiarize herself with her own situation and the characteristics of the creatures here. Several Daoyuan realms are the elite among the elites, and they are naturally impeccable in terms of adaptability, so after a day, everyone has basically lost the initial discomfort and can do it freely when fighting. Generally speaking, if you fight with the spirit, soul and spirit body, your strength is much lower than that of the physical body, and you have to use much less means when fighting the enemy. This is understandable, because there is no physical body, no secret treasures in the general sense, and most secret techniques cannot be used. When everyone fights, they can only rely on divine soul secret treasures, or pure spiritual energy shocks. Therefore, most of the battles in this fugue mirror are simple and straightforward, without too gaudy airs or gorgeous moves. Yang Kai's abnormality is vividly reflected here. When he was outside, others would only pay attention to his cultivation, and the realm of the first level of Daoyuan was really not worth mentioning in the eyes of experts. But in this world dominated by spirits and spirits, Yang Kai is a bit different. The strength of his soul and spirit body is even faintly inferior to Sha Sheng, let alone Xiao Bai, Murong Xiaoxiao and others. He was originally the lowest cultivation among all the people, but after entering this fugue mirror, he suddenly became the strongest person. This kind of blatant sharpness cannot be hidden. This sudden and obvious contrast fell into the eyes of Sha Sheng and others, and they were naturally surprised. Everyone was curious about how he cultivated the power of the soul to cultivate his own soul to such a level. But after all, they are not from the same family. This kind of matter is related to the privacy of others, so it is really difficult to ask. Even Gao Shueding showed surprise from time to time. A day later, a rolling mountain range appeared in front of everyone's field of vision, stretching for an unknown number of miles. Gao Shueding led the crowd and stopped at the foot of the mountain. This is the Tianyao mountain in the world of Shenyuzheng. There are countless monsters in it. After you enter it, you can hunt and kill freely, and gain the power of the soul to strengthen your consciousness. But I have to remind you, Tianyao, there are some monsters in the mountain that even I can't afford to offend, so you don't want to go too deep inside. If you only move around 20,000 miles away, it's not a big problem. Hearing what she said, everyone couldn't help but look terrified, and nodded solemnly to express their understanding. There are not only monsters and beasts in Tianyao Mountain, but also some warriors in the magic mirror to travel here. If you encounter them, try not to touch them. Even if you touch them, don't disclose information about the outside world. This is very important. Of course, in addition to these, there is also the soul jade and soul crystal that I mentioned to you before. The middle-grade soul jade in this palace was obtained in Tianyao Mountain. When everyone heard the words, their eyes lit up, and they couldn't help but rub their hands together. In addition, the time for the spirit body to leave the body should not be too long, otherwise there may be some unpredictable future troubles, so the time limit for you to practice here is 1 month. After 1 month, a prohibition of the token in the stone room will be released. Activate it, and then it will forcibly pull your spirits back there, so you should make good use of this time. Elder Murong Xiao suddenly asked, what should I do if I encounter some unstoppable danger? Escape, Gao Shueding said succinctly. If you can't escape, delay until 1 month. At this point, her beautiful eyes glanced at everyone, and said, this is your experience if you can't make it. She frowned slightly and didn't continue, but everyone knew what she meant. The growth of warriors itself is accompanied by various dangers, so everyone has already adapted to the current situation, and there is nothing to complain about. Okay, I will lead you here. Next, it's up to you, go in. After Gao Shueding finished speaking, she waved to everyone. Sha Sheng and the others glanced at each other, then nodded, turned around and walked towards Tiantian Yaoshan. Gao Shueding stood quietly on the spot, waiting until the figures of the people disappeared from the field of vision, and then she flickered and walked away in another direction. She entered the immortal mirror this time, firstly, to lead the way for Sha Sheng and others, and to explain some common sense here, and secondly, because she needed to sacrifice one of her divine soul treasures in a special place here. That divine soul treasure has followed her for many years, infused her with the will of the emperor, and nourished her with his own emperor's essence, as if he was about to be promoted to the level of an emperor's treasure. An emperor treasure level divine soul secret treasure is an extremely rare treasure. Looking at the entire star world, there are not many. The general emperor senior realm may have 1 or 2 emperor treasures that have been painstakingly condensed in their hands, but the divine soul emperor treasure, 99% of the emperor senior realm have never owned it. If this operation is successful, then Gao Shueding will have one, and then when confronting the enemy, she can attack with all her strength without having to defend against the loopholes in her spiritual consciousness. This is tantamount to taking a huge advantage invisibly. The last time she entered the immortal mirror world, she had saved the life of a martial artist here. That warrior also had the cultivation base of Emperor Senior Realm, but he was chased by a ferocious monster and was seriously injured. Seeing this, Gao Shueding didn't hesitate, so she stepped forward to help, and finally killed the monster with the combined efforts of the two. The warrior appreciated Gao Shueding's righteousness and invited her back to the sect for a seat. Gao Shueding also wanted to inquire about all kinds of information in the world of Shenyujing, but naturally she did not refuse. After going to the sect called Seizing Soul Sect, Gao Shueding realized that the person she saved was actually the sect master of this sect. The suzerain of the Seizing Soul Sect is not considered treacherous, and Gao Shueding has saved her life, so she is naturally regarded as the guest of honor. Moreover, Elder Gao is very powerful, and he is beautiful, except for his cold temperament. Everything else is perfect. Therefore, the suzerain also treated Gao Shueding with extra courtesy, showing courtesy from time to time, in order to win the beauty's favor. It was the last chat that let Gao Shueding know that there is a different place called Shening Lake in this soul-seizing sect, which can help her soul treasure to advance. This time, Gao Shueding is going to the Seizing Soul Sect, and wants to ask the sect master to let her use Shening Lake. In Gao Shueding's mind, with her own life-saving grace in front, there should be no problem with this trip. At the same time, somewhere in the world of Shenyujing, there is a huge city. This city covers an area of tens of thousands of miles, and it is extremely vast. Looking from a distance, a majestic aura rushed towards him. The city is full of people, shoulder to shoulder, bustling, very lively. Although it is a city in the mirror, at first glance, it is almost indistinguishable from the outside city. Hawker shops stand in forests, spacious streets, crisscrossing, pavilions and pavilions, dotted with dots. This is the capital of Shenyu Kingdom, Shenyu City. Different from the outside world, there are many sects and countless families, each family and sect are in charge of a certain territory, and the family and sect are the dominant existences in their own territory. In the world of Shenyujing, it is Shenyuguo who dominates everything. All sects and clans are all under the jurisdiction of Shenyu Kingdom. Shenyu Kingdom has the supreme status and power here, and it leads everything. According to legend, a long time ago, there was no Shenyu Kingdom here, and the structure of this world was the same as that of the outside world, with the clans and sects occupying their respective territories and being the masters. But ever since the current emperor of Zhenwu Kingdom was born, and with the power of the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves, he has unified the entire Zhenwu Kingdom. Today's monarch possesses the talents of latitude and longitude, and the ability to open up the sky and create the world. Under it, a large number of masters have been recruited to serve him. His tall and magnificent image is well known to women and children, and the inexhaustible merits he has created are also widely spread. Under his rule, the entire Zhenwu Kingdom is thriving and has a bright future. Although the entire world is almost a one-man dictatorship, the appearance of Zhenwu Kingdom has indeed avoided many unnecessary killings and conflicts, which is the supreme merit. Chapter 2213. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind The Peak of Martial Arts, listen to your more suggestions on the novel, pay attention to the official account of the Chinese website, add friends on WeChat, add official account, enter QDread, and tell me quietly. At this very moment, within the palace of Zhenwu City, in a large hall, Zhou Dian, the great general of Zhenwu Nation Protector, is embracing left and right, enjoying delicious food and wine, and sensuality. Zhou Dian was born with a hunchback and a tiger back, with a ferocious appearance and a height of 9 feet, which was different from ordinary people. In the early years, he followed the emperor of the Zhenwu Kingdom to fight in all directions, and made great contributions to the creation of the Zhenwu Kingdom. Therefore, after the establishment of the Zhenwu Kingdom, Zhou Dian also received the reward he deserved, and was named the general protector of the country by the emperor of the Zhenwu Kingdom, above people. Now in the world of Zhenwu, there has been no war for 100 years, and no war for 1,000 years. As a great general protecting the country, Zhou Dian also seems to have nothing to do, and the whole person is moldy with idleness. He himself is already a strong man at the 3rd level of the emperor, his cultivation base has reached the peak, his strength is superb, and he feels that it is meaningless to continue to practice, so he starts to let go. On weekdays, he stayed in his palace, collected beauties from all over the world, and lived a comfortable life. At this time, below the main hall, a group of young women were singing and dancing, with scantily clad clothes, and their beautiful figures were looming as they danced. These women were all very seductive, their eyes were fluttering, their faces were full of spring, and they showed their most private and beautiful side shown in front of Zhou Dian, wanting to win his attention. As for Zhou Dian's left and right hands, they each hugged beauties with different temperaments, drinking fine wine, eating spiritual fruits, with joyful enjoyment on their faces. In the world of Zhenwu, there are many unique products that cannot be seen by the outside world, such as these spiritual fruits placed in front of Zhou Dian. These are special products in the world of Zhenwu. It is beneficial and extremely precious, but Zhou Dian regards them as something to satisfy his hunger and feasts on them, which is really a waste of everything. The sound of laughter, sweetness, coquettishness, and Zhou Dian's unrestrained laughter filled the palace, making it appear extremely obscene. At a certain moment, these voices stopped abruptly. All the voices seemed to be isolated by an invisible force at this moment. An unimaginable coercion descended from the sky, and a figure walked slowly from outside the hall. Even if they didn't see that figure, the women singing and dancing in the palace could feel that there was a huge shadow behind them, which seemed to cover all their light and made them tremble all over. And Zhou Dian also opened his mouth wide, his eyes tremblingly looking at the figure from the layman. A grape-like spiritual fruit fell from his mouth, and he didn't notice it. The figure seemed to come very slowly, but in the blink of an eye, he entered the hall. Looking around, this person is wearing a large black cloak that completely wraps himself, and even wears a grimace mask on his face, which looks extremely hideous and terrifying. From the appearance alone, it is impossible to tell whether this person is a man or a woman. And if this person was walking in the palace, at least 90% of the people would not recognize him. But Zhou Dian recognized it. The moment this person appeared, Zhou Dian wiped his mouth and shook his body, sending the 2 women in his arms flying away, hurriedly came from above, and came straight to the 3 feet in front of this person, with a solemn expression on his face, bent at the waist, knelt down on one knee, and said in a low voice, "General Zhou Dian, protector of the country, see your majesty." As soon as this remark came out, all the singers showed shock in their eyes. Because although they knew that the monarch lived in this palace, since they entered this place until now, no one has really seen it. On weekdays, when they were playing with Zhou Dian, they also joked that Zhou Dian would take them to meet the next monarch, so that they could see this unworldly genius who almost created the Zhenwu Kingdom by himself. But every time he came here, Zhou Dian would change the subject casually and never promise them. But at this moment today, this legendary figure unexpectedly appeared in front of them so abruptly. This naturally shocked them very much. While shocked, he also looked at the person who came over curiously. But as far as I can see, I can't see the slightest feature of the monarch. The wide black cloak and the grimace mask on the face completely cover the monarch, not even a piece of skin is exposed. Judging from the body shape, it is impossible to tell the gender of this person. If they took another look, they couldn't help feeling dizzy and drowsy, which made them look away quickly. "Get up," the person in front of Zhou Dian said lightly. The voice is hoarse, but it is also a neutral tone, and it is impossible to tell whether it is a man or a woman. "Thank you, my lord." Zhou Dian drank heavily, stood up, but still bowed his waist slightly, looked at the king strangely and said, "My lord, what do you want to order when you come to find your subordinates this time?" Since founding the Zhenwu kingdom, Wang Shan basically didn't ask Zhou Dian to do anything, but he didn't expect the king to come here on his own initiative this time. Zhou Dian had a vague premonition that something big was about to happen. After asking, Zhou Dian waited for the answer. However, the king did not speak for a long time. It was not until a long time later that the hoarse voice came. "The Tianyao mountain range, a disaster star has appeared in the world, shaking the fate of the country, and chaos is coming." "What?" Zhou Dian's face changed, and he exclaimed, "There is such a thing." He gritted his teeth fiercely, with an extremely ferocious appearance. The cruelty that was usually hidden was revealed at this moment, and he said with a grin, "Don't worry, your majesty, this subordinate will send someone." "You go in person." The king interrupted him before he could finish speaking. Zhou Dian was stunned when he heard the words, but quickly responded, "This subordinate obeys the order and will definitely live up to the king's entrustment." "Very good." After the king said lightly, he turned and left. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared. In the distance, a sentence floated over, "Catch the living." Zhou Dian clenched his fist in the direction of the source of the voice, "Yes." After finishing speaking, he actually laughed out loud, and muttered in a cold voice, "Finally, there is something to do. I hope this trip will not make this general too boring. Would you like to take the slave's family with you? The slave's family also wants to see the extraordinary demeanor of the adults. I also need to go. And me, and me." A group of women gathered around, chattering non-stop. Zhou Dian smiled grimly and looked around. Suddenly, he snorted coldly, and an invisible force spread suddenly, knocking all the women away. Falling to the ground, many beauties howled miserably, and a bright and uncertain brilliance shone from that body. Obviously the damage to the soul was serious. "Men do things, women go away." After Zhou Dian said, he strode out of the palace. He treated the women who were still gentle and intimate before without any pretense, and discarded them like trash. It can be seen that this person is really a moody and cruel guy. Not long after, Zhou Dian dispatched troops and led a group of men and horses, rushed out of the palace aggressively, and headed towards the direction of Tianyao Mountain. In Tianyao Mountain, in a mountain depression, a Xuantu tortoise at the peak of the 11th step was still fighting, and several figures fluctuated around it, fighting and entangled. Sha Sheng slashed out with a knife, and his divine sense burst out. The power passed through the blade and turned into a shocking light, cutting into the weak spot of the Xuantu turtle's neck. Xiao Baiyi's soul treasures are similar to those used in his physical body. They are all sword-shaped treasures, and here, he even uses the power of the soul to display the secret techniques he has learned on weekdays. Although it is a bit nondescript, it is also powerful. The sword light condensed with spiritual thoughts came to slash, blocking the Xuantu turtle's retreat. Murong Xiao Xiao's expression was solemn, a long whip danced like wind and water, and there were many shadows of the whip. All the attacks surrounded the monster beast, making it unable to advance or retreat. However, although the long whip danced, although it was beautiful, it lacked lots of kills. But Shen Muji's divine soul's secret treasure was a round of flying blades, which poured into the throwing space of the divine sense, rolled up a monstrous power, and continuously drained the energy of the monster. Yang Kai, on the other hand, wore the Ziyang Zan mask, and fought the Xuantu turtle close to his body, with powerful punches and violent moves. 5 Daoyuan realm fighters besieged a monster that was about the peak of Daoyuan realm, but they couldn't attack for a long time. It's not the fault of Yang Kai and others, it's because the defensive power of this monster is too amazing. The thick tortoise shell seems to be impenetrable. Once it encounters an attack, this guy will retract his limbs and head. As soon as the attack slowed down, it stretched out its head, and an energy bomb-like thing sprayed out, densely packed, making Yang Kai and others tired of parrying. Among the 5 people here, except for Yang Kai who has a defensive secret treasure and dares to fight it close, the other 4 dare not get too close, lest it will be too late if they don't check the trick for a while. If it wasn't for its slow movement, Yang Kai and others would have been too lazy to fight with it. However, it was such a monster that made everyone quickly understand their own shortcomings during the battle. Fighting fiercely for a long time, seeing the light flashing on the surface of the mysterious earth tortoise, which seemed to be dying, Sha Sheng let out a loud shout, followed the knife, jumped up, and immediately fell from the sky like falling down. Xiao Bai and others also used their best moves, and they all attacked the monster. Seeing this, Yang Kai made a feint and retreated to avoid being affected by everyone's attack. Boom boom boom, a series of sounds came out, and the energy was violent and chaotic for a long time. When the dust settled, the Xuantu turtle had already quietly crawled on the ground, motionless. Under the eyes of everyone, its body gradually faded and slowly dissipated in the space, leaving it in place. There was a light cluster about the size of a broad bean. No matter the color, brightness, or size of the light cluster, it is not comparable to the monsters that everyone has encountered for the first time. After all, the one in front of me is at the peak level of tier 11. However, although the spoils of war were in front of them, everyone did not rush to take them. Instead, they all stood in place, frowning tightly, revealing contemplative expressions. Everyone seemed to have gained something during the changing expressions. The previous combat experience here doesn't seem to be of much use. Sha Sheng was the first to speak. Xiao Bai nodded and said, I think everyone has also noticed that when we fight here, we are always tied up, and we really can't let go. Take it. Follow up. Click official account on Chinese website, add friends on WeChat, add official account, enter QDread, and participate immediately. Everyone has a prize. Now immediately follow QDread WeChat official account. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2214 Separate Operations. Is it because of the soul and spirit body? Murong Xiao took the words thoughtfully. Probably. Shen Muji nodded in agreement. Because it is a spirit body, it cannot use many moves and secret techniques that are usually used, let alone the secret treasures that are usually used, which will naturally make everyone feel a lot of discomfort during the battle. Furthermore, this kind of spiritual battle has always been avoided by all warriors. Under normal circumstances, if 2 warriors with similar strengths meet, they will not choose the battle of spiritual consciousness, because this kind of battle is too dangerous, and if they are not careful, they will lose their sanity and become disabled. However, in this world of mind-wandering mirrors, everyone can't choose another way of fighting, and can only fight with the soul as the main body. In this way, there will be many problems that have never been considered before, and have never arisen. For example, if a move is in front of you, if you put it outside, you may be able to break it easily, or even use your strength to hit it. But here, when a ferocious move strikes in front of them, probably everyone's first reaction is to dodge, so as not to hurt their souls. It seems that we still have a lot to grow up. Sha Sheng smiled wryly, and continued, don't think about it for now, this source of soul. His eyes swept over everyone, and finally stopped at Shen Muji body, said, Junior brother Shen, you absorb it first. Having said that, he looked at Yang Kai again and asked, Brother Yang, do you have any objections? No. Yang Kai shook his head. Sha Sheng nodded slightly. Shen Muji didn't refuse either, and after thanking him, he stretched out his hand to hold the source of the soul, and silently practiced the profound kung fu to absorb it. In just a short while, the source of the soul has been absorbed. Although it's not obvious, Shen Muji's soul strength has undoubtedly increased a little bit, which can be seen from the joyful expression on his face. After all, it is an 11th level peak monster, and the absorber can still clearly feel the improvement of the power of the soul. Continue. After Sha Sheng said, he led the way again, looking for prey. 2 long days passed by in a flash. Within 2 days, Yang Kai and his team supported and cooperated with each other in Tianyao Mountain, encountered many monsters, but every time they killed them without any risk. And under Sha Sheng's auspices, the soul origin obtained by the killed monsters was almost evenly distributed. Yang Kai has absorbed the soul origins of 9 9th order monsters, 5 10th order, and 2 11th order monsters. The power of the soul is obviously stronger than when it first entered this place. Others naturally gained a lot. Like Shenmuji, who has the weakest soul power, the growth he has achieved is obvious to all. In the Tianyao mountain, there are indeed countless monsters, plundering and rampant, and people don't need to look for them, they can come across them from time to time. They didn't plan to kill monsters with too low strength, because even if they killed them, they wouldn't get much benefit. Basically, all the monsters killed by the crowd were existences above the 9th rank. But I don't know if it's because it's still on the periphery, so far I haven't encountered a 12th order one. Of course, if they really meet someone of the 12th rank, everyone can only run away. And with the 2 days of high-intensity fighting, everyone's current state is also very different from before, and it is obvious that they have fully grown up. If they encountered that Xuantu turtle again now, with the current strength and experience of the 5 of them, it would only take half a cup of tea to kill it. In other words, everyone has completely adapted to this place, their current body, and even their current fighting style. During the break, Sha Sheng suddenly said, "Everyone, I have a suggestion, I don't know if it should be said or not." Act separately. Xiao Bai looked at him with a look of, "I'll know what you're messing with as soon as you stick your butt." Sha Sheng grinned. "Xiao Bai understands me." He continued, "It is indeed safe for 5 people to gather together, but it is too inefficient to act like this." Elder Gao also said, "We only stay in this world for 1 month. After 1 month, a ban on the token will be activated to take us back forcibly. Next time we want to enter the Immortal Mirror, I don't know, it's a matter of the year of the monkey, so it's a great opportunity. If you don't grasp it well, how can you be worthy of yourself? Compared to acting together safely and safely, brother, I still prefer to separate. Although there will be certain dangers, our potential, isn't it always forced out when it is dangerous?" There was an inexplicable excitement and confidence in his eyes. "I have been growing up in a safe environment. If it is really dangerous, it will be too late." Actually, Xiao Bai continued slowly, "I thought so too. The implication is that there are some concerns about not being able to express this idea. Separate." There was a trace of hesitation on Murong Xiaoxiao's face, but she quickly became firm, nodded and said, "No problem." Seeing that she nodded in agreement, Sha Sheng turned his gaze to Shenmuji. The latter smiled slightly, and said, "Senior brothers and sisters, you don't have to worry about me. Although my spiritual cultivation is the lowest here, I will do what I can. Anyway, I am also a disciple of the temple." "Okay." Sha Sheng glanced at him with satisfaction, then turned to look at Yang Kai, and grinned. "Brother Yang must have no objections." "I'm free," Yang Kai replied lightly. Entering the Immortal Mirror this time was a chance, so he will not force too much. If Sha Sheng and others insist on acting together, he will cooperate. Since they want to separate, he is also happy to see it. Of course, in comparison, he is more inclined to the latter. Because he acted together with Sha Sheng and others, he dared not use many methods, and he always felt that he could not use his full strength. "Then, senior brother is here to wish you all." Sha Sheng swept across the crowd with a solemn expression, "Safe on the road, go back alive. Let's take a step first." Xiao Bai acted decisively, and after discussing to split up the action, he immediately set off and galloped in one direction. "Brother, take care," Murong Xiaoxiao said to Sha Sheng, then looked at Yang Kai and Shenmuji, and said, "You too. Miss Murong must be careful." Yang Kai replied with a smile. Murong Xiaoxiao nodded, and while her delicate body was swaying, she shot in another direction. "Then I'm leaving too." While speaking, Shenmuji stood up, nodded slightly at Sha Sheng and Yang Kai, and then disappeared with his movement. Soon, only Sha Sheng and Yang Kai were left. Sha Sheng looked at Yang Kai with a smile and asked, "Which direction is brother Yang going?" "This way." Yang Kai stretched out his finger to a different direction from the others. Sha Sheng narrowed his eyes slightly, and said, "Do you want to go deep inside?" "Brother Yang, you have to be more careful. Elder Gao said that there are many existences in the heavenly demon mountain that even she dare not mess with. I will do what I can, and I will not be greedy." Yang Kai smiled slightly. "It's best like this." Sha Sheng nodded, then, "Sha will take my leave first, and see you when I go out." As Sha Sheng said, he got up and flew in one direction. Looking at his direction, he was also going deep into the Tianyao mountain, but it was different from the direction Yang Kai chose. Soon, Sha Sheng's figure disappeared. Only then did Yang Kai stand up slowly, turned his head to look inside Tianyao mountain, and muttered in a low voice, "It's time to let go of your hands and feet and work hard." At the same time, at the foot of the Tianyao Mountains, a team of hundreds of people marched forward and stayed in the open space at the foot of the mountain. This team is obviously a well-trained army, because even if hundreds of people get together, the formation is not chaotic, and the actions are orderly. When hundreds of people stand there, there is no sound, only a solemn and cold aura haunting all around. The aura was like a crouching dragon born out of the world, entrenched above the heads of this team, making the sky turbulent. Among the ranks, there are banners fluttering with the wind. On the back of the flag, engraved with a vivid picture of a tiger descending the mountain, with its bared fangs and mighty aura, it almost seems to come out through the flag, which makes people feel suffocated. On the front of the big flag, a big Zhou character is clearly visible, flying like a dragon and flying like a phoenix, with vigorous and powerful strokes. This is the army of Shenyu country to protect the country, and also the elite division under Zhou Dian. At this moment, Zhou Dian was riding on a snow-white Jiang Kui dragon beast. He didn't wear any armor and only showed others in ordinary clothes. However, the chilling aura on his body still made people shudder. Staring at the Tianyao mountain which is close at hand, Zhou Dian sneered, "I really miss it. The last time I came here was more than 2,000 years ago. I never thought that I would come here again in this lifetime." He was talking to himself, but none of the soldiers under his command dared to respond. After a while, Zhou Dian suddenly shouted, "Lian Yan, Ban Qing, Yu Man, Yuan Qing." The four of them came out in response, clasped their fists together and said, "This subordinate is here." These four people all have powerful cultivation bases at the first level of Emperor Zun, and these four people are also the four powerful generals under Zhou Dian's command. He brought them along too. There were 4 people, 3 men and 1 woman. Except for the strong man named Yu Man who was a woman, the remaining 3 were all men. Among them, Lian Yan has red hair that stretches down to the waist and back, and looks extremely flamboyant. Judging from the faint red light on his body, this person's soul power seems to have special power. Ban Qing is short in stature and even looks very ordinary, but he is good at hiding his ability to assassinate. Even a person like Zhou Dian is better than Zhou Dian. If he is not careful for a while, he may be bullied by Ban Qing. Yu Man looks to be about 30 years old, with a plump figure, and a mature charm can be seen at a glance, with a tall nose bridge, showing a graceful arc, attractive red lips, arousing infinite reverie, and a tender breast. Round buttocks. The last one, Yuan Qing, did not know what kind of secret technique he had practiced. He felt extremely feminine to others, and his appearance was so beautiful that even many women were eclipsed in front of him. Chapter 2215 Soul Eater. The serial number in the previous chapter, "Why use it?" was wrong, but the content is correct, so it does not affect reading. These 4 people are all the founding fathers of the Shenyu kingdom. In the early years, they followed Zhou Dian to pacify the world, fought north and south, and rarely met opponents. Even looking at the entire world of fugue mirrors, they are all well-known powerhouses. It's just that in front of Zhou Dian, their strength was covered by the sharp edge of one person. Divide the troops into 4 groups and go into the mountain to search. I must catch those evil stars and bring them back to the king in the shortest possible time. Zhou Dian pointed his hand and shouted in a deep voice. Yes. The 4 of them agreed in unison, immediately mobilized their soldiers, divided into 4 waves, and quickly disappeared into the Tianyao mountain. In the same place, Zhou Dian was left alone. The noisy wind blew past, blowing Zhou Dian's hair. After a long time, he only touched his feet, urging the Jiang Kui dragon beast on his crotch to move forward slowly. The monster under his seat is also at the level of the 12th level. Even if it is only in the early stage, it is equivalent to the cultivation level of a first-level emperor, but even so, it can only be ridden obediently by Zhou Dian. Back then Zhou Dian spent a lot of energy and time in order to subdue this monster, and finally succeeded. Staring at the depths of Tianyao mountain, Zhou Dian's eyes flickered with high fighting spirit inexplicably, as if there was an opponent he cared about waiting for him in the mountains and forests. Yang Kai and the others who went to the mountain to practice, naturally knew nothing about what happened outside, because no one thought that just a simple experience would cause such an uproar. At this moment, Yang Kai was confronting a Lei Jiang Azure Wolf in Tianyao mountain. This monster is only at the peak level of the 10th order, which is almost the same as the first monster that everyone encountered after entering the Immortal travel mirror, but Yang Kai looked serious. Without him, this monster seems to be a bit different. It is actually able to resist the power of thunder and lightning. The flickering electric arc outside the body showed a powerful killing effect, which made Yongkai quite afraid. He is now a spirit body present here, not a physical body. If there is any damage, it will not heal so quickly. Even if there is a warming lotus by his side, Yongkai does not dare to come into contact with such power easily. Fortunately, he had no intention of doing it himself. Acting with Sha Sheng and others, many of his methods are not easy to show others, and he is very uncomfortable when fighting with his hands tied. But right now he is the only one, so naturally he has no scruples. The Lei Zheng Blue Wolf on the opposite side obviously sensed that Yongkai was not easy to mess with, but it was worried about the difference in strength, so it only confronted Yongkai from a distance, grinning and roaring from time to time, trying to scare Yongkai away. But how could Yongkai do what it wanted? Come out! Suddenly, Yongkai shouted loudly. With the sound of the sound, his body shook slightly, and while his sleeves were shaking, a dense black spot suddenly emerged strangely. Those black dots were not many at first, but in the blink of an eye, they became countless, and gathered into a black cloud at an extremely fast speed. The black cloud was the size of a tabletop, and upon closer inspection, one could clearly see that the black cloud was composed of tiny insects that could hardly be seen with the naked eye. Soul Eater. It should be called the Soul Devourer. Since the last time they devoured a large amount of pure magic energy in Yongkai's Sea of Consciousness, these soul-eating insects have all turned into a pitch-black color. If they are enlarged, they will look hideous and terrifying. As soon as Chang Yunyu appeared, there was a buzzing sound. Lei Zheng Qinglang obviously didn't know what this thing was, but the instinct of the creature made it feel bad. Seeing the worm cloud rushing towards him, it opened its mouth, and the lightning flashed in its mouth, accompanied by a crisp click. With a loud sound, an arc of lightning struck like this, right above the worm cloud. The worm cloud was scattered in an instant. But soon, they gathered in one place again. But after releasing that blow, Lei Zheng Qinglang turned around and fled without any intention of staying any longer. Chase. Yongkai popped a word from his mouth. In fact, he didn't need to give orders or anything, the soul-devouring insect's instinct had already driven them to do so. The worm cloud was like a tarsal maggot, covering the Lei Zheng Blue Wolf, but the latter was not slow, and was caught up in a very short time. The worm cloud just jumped down, and the wolf the beast is completely wrapped up. The sound of miserable howls sounded in an instant, and the screams continued, which sounded extremely penetrating. The worm cloud was tumbling, wriggling like a living thing. Yongkai stood quietly, watching all this. Lei Zheng Qinglang's aura gradually weakened at a speed that was neither too fast nor too slow. The power is still a bit unsatisfactory. Yongkai was thoughtful. Although the characteristics of soul-eating insects make countless creatures extremely afraid, Yongkai's soul-eating insects have grown from a very low level after all, and these years, he has never paid much attention to them. Let them live and evolve freely on the treasure island transformed by the warming lotus. Even though the time is not short, they have grown a lot, but they still cannot meet the needs of Yongkai's current battle situation. A 10th order monster is only at the level of the Void King realm. Putting it outside, if Yongkai makes a move, one blow can decide the outcome, but it would take a little time for the soul-eater demon insect to make a move. But, the world of this fugue mirror is a tailor-made paradise for the soul-eating monsters. If it works well, these soul-eating monsters may be able to turn the world upside down within a month the change. At that time, Yongkai will definitely have another trump card in his hand, and it is a killer trump card that is hard to guard against. So Yongkai also made up his mind to take advantage of the uniqueness of this place and use the remaining time to cultivate the soul-eater demon insect. While he was meditating, the tumbling speed of the worm cloud over there became faster and faster, and the miserable howling of Lei Zheng Qinglang gradually became inaudible and finally remained motionless. Yongkai looked carefully, and he found that Lei Zheng Qinglang's body was being quickly eaten away by the soul-devouring insects. After all, the creatures here are all souls and spirits, without flesh and blood, and they are the most delicious and favorite food of soul-eating insects. If Yongkai strikes to kill, after Lei Zheng Qinglang dies, most of the energy of the soul will dissipate and return to the space of this world, leaving only the original power of the soul. But being devoured by the soul-devouring insects is different. Those powers that should have been dissipated have all entered the body of the soul-devouring insects at this moment, becoming the capital for them to grow and become stronger. The only thing Yongkai needs to worry about is not to let the soul-eater demon insect swallow the soul of this monster. If that's the case, then he won't get anything. This is not what he wants to see. This time experience, to strengthen one's body is the king's way. Let the soul devourer grow up, just follow the trend. Yang Kai is still clear about the primary and secondary relationship. So after waiting for a while, Yang Kai moved his spiritual mind slightly and spread towards the worm cloud, sending a message. Chang Yun is also well behaved and obedient, perhaps because he has been in Yang Kai's sea of consciousness for so many years, so he executed his instructions meticulously. As soon as the message was transmitted, the insect cloud immediately moved away from Lei Zhang Qinglang's body, and flew back into Yang Kai's sleeve. Looking around, the Lei Zhang Qinglang over there had almost been swallowed up, leaving only a mung bean-sized yellowish light cluster remaining where it was. Yang Kai nodded in satisfaction, stepped forward, and absorbed the light ball into his body. Not long after, he set off again, heading forward. Along the way, I didn't encounter too powerful monsters, but once the worm cloud came out, all the monsters became the food of the soul-devouring monsters. Yang Kai only needs to stand aside and wait for a while, and he can get those monsters. The origin of the soul left behind by the monster after death. It's unimaginably easy. This is also the advantage of him acting alone. He doesn't need to put in too much effort to gain something. If he is with Sha Sheng and others, he will never release the soul devourer. As time went by, Yang Kai gradually discovered something that interested him. That is, even if the soul-devouring insects stayed in his sleeves, they seemed to be able to absorb that strange power from the space between the heavens and the earth, and continuously strengthened. Thinking about it, this is also a matter of course. The aura of heaven and earth in this world is completely different from the aura of heaven and earth in the outside world. The spiritual energy outside can be absorbed by the warrior's body, making the warrior gradually stronger. But the aura here can be absorbed by the souls and spirits of all living beings to strengthen the souls. Soul-devouring insects are naturally no exception, and the ubiquitous soul aura is the most delicious delicacy they hope for. This is an absolute gem. Yang Kai is excited. Going all the way, the harvest is huge. However, within 2 days, Yang Kai had already used the soul-devouring demonic insect to kill at least 70 or 80 monster beasts. All the monster beasts were devoured by the demonic insects, and the remaining divine soul origin was naturally cheaper for Yang Kai. This made his spiritual power, which was already comparable to the 3rd level of Daoyuan, stronger and stronger, and there was a faint tendency to move towards the Emperor's realm. Not to mention that Yang Kai's own divine sense was gradually strengthening, but the growth of the soul-devouring demon insect was also obvious. In the beginning, it took a cup of tea for the Soul Eater to deal with a 10th level Lei Zhang Qinglang, but now, this time has been shortened by as much as half. Their growth is more obvious than Yang Kai. Such a huge harvest made Yang Kai ecstatic, and felt that it was a wise decision to split up with Sha Sheng and others. According to Gao Shueding, absorbing the soul source of a 10th level monster is almost equivalent to 7 or 8 days of penance, while absorbing an 11th level monster is equivalent to about 20 days. In just 2 days of effort, Yang Kai's benefits are almost equivalent to 3 or 4 years of cultivation. Moreover, this is a result that can only be obtained on the premise of using a special secret technique of spiritual cultivation. If he had been with Sha Sheng and others all the time, he definitely would not have achieved such growth. But only he can do this. Because he has the soul-devouring insect, every time he fights, he only needs to wait and see, and then wait to collect the spoils. There is no need to exert effort at all, and naturally there is no need to rest. Chapter 2216 Giant Python. Another day later, after absorbing the soul left behind by an 11th order monster, Yang Kai's body suddenly shook slightly. He couldn't help frowning, because at that moment, he actually felt a slight discomfort. This discomfort was inexplicable, but it was very clear, making him a little uncomfortable all over. Is this the limit? Yang Kai didn't panic, he just understood the reason after a little thought. Gao Shueding once said before that although absorbing the soul essence left behind after the death of the creatures here, although it can quickly strengthen one's own soul, it is not without scruples. When the absorption reaches a certain level, there will be a degree of saturation. Once this happens, it will be impossible to absorb the source of the soul, otherwise there may be some disadvantages. Yang Kai's situation at the moment is undoubtedly a sign of saturation. Thinking about it is also true. In just 3 days, he has driven the soul-devouring insect to kill hundreds of monsters, absorbing the soul origin of hundreds of monsters, and many of them are 11th order existences. And the speed is simply appalling. Yang Kai estimated that Sha Sheng and others would not even have 1/5 of his, because he didn't need to recover and recuperate at all, just drive the soul-devouring magic insect to rapid when he found the prey. And Sha Sheng and others need to recover for a while every time they fight, so naturally they don't have much efficiency. It's a pity, he muttered secretly, with regret on his face. His original plan was to follow this momentum and let his soul power hit the level of Emperor Senior Realm all the way. Once the power of Soul hits the Emperor Senior Realm, then he will practice smoothly in the future. But now that it has reached its limit, there is no solution. It can only wait slowly, waiting for the spirit body to completely digest the source of spirit absorbed in the past few days. He didn't slow down, but continued to move forward at his original speed. Because although he can't absorb more soul essence, the soul-devouring insect can, so there can't be any waste. And the more he went to the expert, Yang Kai found that the average level of the monsters he encountered was getting higher and higher. When he first acted separately from Sha Sheng and the others, he could still find some 8th level and 7th level or even weaker monsters. Naturally, he had no interest in these monsters and ignored them all. But with the passage of time, these weak monsters disappeared, replaced by higher level existences. And here, Yang Kai can no longer see the monsters of the 9th rank and below, and all the monsters are at least the 10th rank. According to his estimate, if he went further inside, the 10th order monsters would no longer appear in front of his eyes. At a certain moment, just as he was looking for prey, suddenly in the jungle, there was a strong wind, the trees swayed, and an unusual coercion quickly approached from far and near, and Yang Kai heard it. There was a strange noise. He couldn't help but look serious, and looked in that direction intently. Clatter. It seemed that something was hitting the trees in this mountain forest with great force, causing the trees to sway, and the fallen leaves fell one after another. After a while, a ray of purple light suddenly shot from the front, extremely fast. Yang Kai showed surprise on his face, because he found that the purple light body rushing towards him was actually a little monster about 1 long and shaped like a civet cat. The strength of monster beasts cannot be distinguished by size, but when Yang Kai's spiritual sense swept over them, he still clearly understood the level of this purple raccoon, the 9th rank. It has been a while since he came here, and he has not found a 9th order monster, because the 9th order level is no longer suitable for living in this range. So when this purple raccoon appeared in front of him, Yang Kai was still slightly surprised, wondering how such a weak monster could survive in this area. But its speed is indeed very fast. Yang Kai found it, checked its level, it was only a moment, before Yang Kai shot at it, this guy has already rushed behind Yang Kai with a hissing sound. When a person and a beast passed by, Yang Kai clearly saw a surprised look flashed in the purple raccoon's animal pupils, and he kept staring at him, as if he had discovered something novel. This is obviously a manifestation of spiritual intelligence. All the monsters Yang Kai encountered before did not have this ability. Those monsters only obeyed their own killing instincts, and when they met Yang Kai, even if Yang Kai didn't make a move, they would take the initiative to attack. And this purple raccoon is obviously a little different. However, Yang Kai didn't have time to think about its problems, but still stared at the front with a solemn expression. Because behind the purple raccoon, came a super ruthless guy. Clatter. There was another loud sound of trees swaying and falling to the ground. Immediately afterwards, a flat head about the size of a rice vat suddenly protruded from the front. The scales on the head were covered with scarlet stripes, which looked extremely ferocious. The 2 people in the brain-sized eyes, the green pupils stand upside down, making people shudder. In the huge opened mouth, a red core falters, making a hissing sound. This is a giant python monster. I don't know why, but it chased after the purple raccoon, all the way to Yang Kai. As soon as you appeared, the giant python fixed its 2 vertical pupils on Yang Kai's body, and then, a thick and thin body was slowly revealed, with its head raised high, entrenched in midair, the snake core still hesitating in its mouth, staring at Yang Kai maliciously. The misfortune is moving eastward, just play around. Yang Kai turned his head and cast a sinister glance at the purple raccoon who was hiding behind a tree and poked out a small head. The purple raccoon couldn't help shrinking his neck when he looked at him, but soon, he looked over quietly, as if he wanted to see if Yang Kai could drive the giant python away. I'll deal with you after I've dealt with it. Yang Kai sneered, and turned his head to confront the giant python again. With the prey in front of him, he had no reason to give up, so he was still ready to shoot. It seemed that he realized that Yang Kai was not easy to mess with. After the giant python showed up, he didn't launch an attack in the first place, but just looked down at Yang Kai with a dangerous light in his eyes. Yang Kai's spiritual sense swept across his body and his face became more and more dignified. Because he found that this giant python is actually the strongest monster he has ever encountered, and its spirit strength is almost comparable to his own. In other words, this guy has also reached the peak of Daoyuan. If it has a little time, it will definitely be promoted to Emperor Senior Realm. In this world, a strong soul is the only way, because there is no physical body, so as long as the power of the soul meets the requirements, you can easily advance to the next level. The giant python in front of him undoubtedly stepped into the threshold of Emperor Senior Realm with one foot. After a moment of confrontation, the giant python lost his patience, driven by the killing instinct. But seeing, in his eyes, a green light flashed and an invisible force rushed towards Yang Kai. In an instant, purple light burst out from Yang Kai's body surface, and the Ziyangzan mask had already emerged. On the surface of the transparent light curtain, a layer of spreading ripples appeared in an instant, and it was also bombarded by an invisible force and sank a lot inward. Soul Impact. This is the secret technique of the soul that every monster, and even every creature here masters. It is just a means of attacking the enemy driven by the power of its own soul. Simple, direct, yet powerful. Especially in the case of great disparity in strength, this blow can often directly determine the outcome. Yang Kai has encountered hundreds of monsters along the way, almost every time he has to be dealt with by the prey with this trick, so he has already been handy in dealing with it. The Ziyang Profound Mask is a Daoyuan level divine soul secret treasure at any rate, even if Yang Kai has not refined it completely and cannot exert its full power, it can still play a good protective role. No monster has ever broken through the defense of this secret treasure. However, the giant python's soul attack caused the Ziyang Shuangguang cover to flash wildly, almost shattering, and Yang Kai himself staggered back a few steps, his complexion slightly darkened. As expected of a monster at the peak of the 11th rank, Yu was extraordinary as soon as he made a move. Moreover, when it released the divine soul impact, it also swung its body, and the steel whip-like tail swept towards Yang Kai horizontally, creating a gust of wind. The trees blocking the road were broken at the touch of a touch, which shows the great strength. When Yang Kai saw this, his expression was solemn, and he didn't dare to take it hard. After shaking his figure, he disappeared from the spot. Ka-cha-cha. Accompanied by the loud noise, countless trees were broken, but this blow of the giant python did not have any effect. Not only that, it also lost the trace of Yang Kai in its field of vision. The fighting instinct made it a little uneasy, the frequency of swallowing the snake core in its mouth was obviously accelerated, and it didn't know if it was aware of it, but it suddenly raised its head and stared into the air. As far as the line of sight was concerned, Yang Kai had landed on top of its head, quite angry, and shouted sharply, "Evil beast, eat me too." After saying that, he also used a move of soul impact, condensing the power of his own consciousness, turning it into an invisible blade, and slashing towards the eyes of the giant python. Kang kang. Twice, like the sound of gold and iron intersecting, sparks appeared on the eyelids of the giant python. When Yang Kai's attack arrived, it closed its eyelids, causing Yang Kai's attack to fail. But the next moment, there was a buzzing sound. At the moment when the giant python closed its eyes, Yang Kai released the Soul Devourer. Black clouds appeared, rolling up monstrous devilish energy. The demonic insect surged, carrying an unworldly power. When the insect cloud transformed by the soul-devouring insect appeared, an anthropomorphic panic appeared in the giant python's pupils, as if he was extremely afraid of the evil insect. And behind Yang Kai, the purple raccoon who was hiding behind a tree and watching the battle quietly, was already trembling at the moment, rolled his eyelids, and fainted straight to the ground. Look at this, the Soul Devourer seems to have brought great deterrence to these two monsters. Chapter 2217 Purple Raccoon. Chapter 2217 Purple Raccoon. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind The Peak of Martial Arts, listen to your more suggestions on the novel, pay attention to the official account of the Chinese website, add friends on WeChat, add official account, enter QDread, and tell me quietly. It's no wonder that the soul-eating worms are the nemesis of all soul powers. Apart from being afraid of the strange energy of the fire of consciousness, there is very little that can kill them. Although Yang Kai's soul-devouring worms still had some disadvantages, as they grew up, these disadvantages have long since disappeared. If you want to kill these soul-devouring insects, you must have the fire of divine consciousness to restrain them like Yongkai, other than that, there is no other way. Moreover, Yongkai doesn't know if the current fire of consciousness still has any effect on them. The reason why he was able to command these soul-eating insects to serve him was largely due to Wen Shenlian. How can the giant python and the purple raccoon not be afraid of such a strange thing? When the black cloud rushed down, the giant python opened its mouth wide in panic, and sprayed out a cloud of emerald green mist from its mouth, covering it towards the insect cloud. In an instant, a stench permeated the surroundings. Poison of divine consciousness. Yongkai looked at it in amazement. This giant python doesn't know what kind of chance it got, or it was born like this, so it can make its own power of consciousness have strong toxicity. It obviously wants to use its own special soul power to deal with the soul-devouring insect. Moreover, it didn't intend to stay any longer. After spitting out the poisonous cloud, it turned around and ran away regardless of Yongkai and the purple raccoon. But it obviously underestimated the weirdness of the soul eater. The pitch-black worm cloud and the emerald-green poisonous cloud came into contact and collided. Visible to the naked eye, the emerald-green color quickly disappeared, and within 3 breaths of time, only the darkness of the worm cloud remained. Look at it, it seems that all the poisonous clouds have been swallowed by the soul-devouring insect. The poisonous cloud is also transformed by the power of the soul, so it is naturally a delicious delicacy for the soul-eating insects. After devouring the poisonous cloud, the soul-devouring worm cloud didn't stay any longer, and directly covered the giant python. In the blink of an eye, it completely covered its head. Changyan closed his eyes. The giant python couldn't see at all, and the huge body began to wriggle and rush around, like a headless fly, and its behavior was erratic. Yongkai looked at it quietly for a while, and couldn't help frowning. Because he found that the soul eater, which has always been invincible, seems to have no good way to deal with the giant python in front of him. The scales covering the giant python's body are extremely tight. Even if it is as small as a soul-eating insect, it cannot break through the protection of the scales to eat away at its body. If this momentum continues, the soul eater may really be unable to deal with the giant python unless it breaks through its defense. With a slight movement in his mind, Yongkai's eyes lit up again, and he immediately gave an order to the soul eater demon insects. Driving the soul eater is not as easy as driving Xiao Xiao's stone puppet, because the former has no intelligence at all, and although Xiao Xiao is not very intelligent, she can understand the meaning of Yongkai's instructions. Compared with the hatchback, driving the former will undoubtedly take more energy. But fortunately, Changyan was still obedient. Yongkai only took a little bit of trouble to let them get into the giant python's body along its snout. After dozens of breaths, the pitch-black cloud of insects had disappeared, only the buzzing sound came from the abdomen of the giant python. And the giant python seemed to have suffered some inhuman torture and unbearable pain at this moment, rolling and tossing on the ground continuously, knocking down countless trees. But this kind of attack from the body, it can't resolve it no matter what, it can only wait for the arrival of death. While struggling, the giant python didn't seem to be willing to sit still, and the attacks of spirits and souls bombarded all around almost without indirection. Yongkai looked terrified, and didn't dare to get too close. As time went by, the light on the giant python's body flickered continuously, with uncertain brightness and darkness, and its struggle and tossing gradually weakened. At a certain moment, the giant python raised its head upright, and finally fell down limply, and the light on its body suddenly dimmed at this moment. Yongkai stood indifferently, waiting quietly. In a short while, a hole suddenly broke out somewhere in the body of the giant python, and from that hole, countless soul-devouring insects swarmed out, flew towards Yongkai again, and returned to his sleeve. Only then did Yongkai come forward, squatting down to look at the remaining python skin. This layer of python skin is as thin as a cicada's wing, covered with scales. It is not known what it is made of. Not only is it extremely strong, even the soul eater has no interest in it. So after devouring all the essence of the giant python, the soul eater flew out. If this thing can be taken out, it may be able to refine some good soul defense secret treasure. Thinking of this, Yongkai stretched out his hand and knocked on that layer of python skin, but what he never expected was that the python skin loosened at once, as if the rotten wood that had accumulated for a long time was completely shattered. This result surprised him. Secretly felt that the reason why the giant python's defense was so amazing before was probably because of its own strange energy blessing. Now that the python skin is useless, Yongkai naturally didn't need to take it out, and he didn't know how to bring things from this world outside, unless it was a special kind of thing that could be absorbed into his soul and spirit body. Items, such as divine soul secret treasure or something. But whether there are any secret treasures in this world is another matter. After all, everything here is composed of strange energy similar to the power of the soul, even the mountains, the land, and the trees. There is no need for refining secret treasures at all. Various precious minerals. He turned around again and returned to where the purple raccoon was originally. When he was extremely astonished, the purple raccoon who was supposed to faint on the ground disappeared without knowing when. Yang Kai was really surprised for a while. From the looks of it, it wasn't just a fluke that this purple raccoon was able to survive in this range as a 9th-level monster. But, when Yang Kai's spiritual sense swept away, he immediately locked on the place where the purple raccoon is now. On the top of a big tree, the purple raccoon hides quietly, with a pair of small eyes showing an indescribable spirituality, looking down vigilantly. But when it focused on observing, Yang Kai in the field of vision suddenly disappeared. Driven almost by instinct, the hair on the purple raccoon's body exploded. HMPH, you thought I couldn't find it if you hid. Yang Kai's sneer came from behind it, and before the purple raccoon could react, he stretched out his hand, grabbed it by the neck, and lifted it up, to their own eyes. The purple raccoon shivered suddenly, her eyes were full of fear, and she looked timidly at Yang Kai. It seems that you don't have any other abilities other than your speed and a little bit of intelligence. Yang Kai looked at it thoughtfully. If it had other abilities, it should have been displayed, but it was so powerful. There was no reaction when I held it, and I knew I was helpless at a glance. But when Yang Kai spoke, the purple raccoon seemed to think of something, and quickly stretched out its claws, poking towards his abdomen. Yang Kai's eyes moved down, and he saw a scene that surprised him. Because he discovered that the purple raccoon's abdomen actually had a pocket-like thing, as if it was born like this. This made him a little surprised. At this moment, the purple raccoon took out something from the pocket in his abdomen. It was a spiritual fruit-like thing, it looked like a grape, its whole body was full of purple, and exuded a strange fragrance. After Yang Kai took a sip, he suddenly felt refreshed, and the discomfort caused by absorbing too much soul source showed some signs of relief. His eyes lit up, and his eyes fixed on the purple spiritual fruit. After the purple raccoon took out the spirit fruit, he held it with both claws, and handed it straight to Yang Kai, and then said, "Please accept this spirit fruit with a smile, my lord, and then let the little one live." His eyes looked at Yang Kai pitifully. Its behavior made Yang Kai feel that this guy was full of spirituality. It obviously wanted to use this spiritual fruit to win its favor, so that it would not attack it. Yang Kai suddenly felt interesting, smiled and looked at the purple raccoon, and didn't make things difficult for it anymore, but put it down. Landing on the treetops, the purple raccoon couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief, but still held the spirit fruit, stood upright with both feet, and sent it to Yang Kai. "Then I will accept it unceremoniously." Yang Kai coughed lightly, and picked up the fruit from its hand. To be honest, he is also very curious about this spiritual fruit. Although Gao Shueding said before that there are many strange products in this world, and many of these things have magical effects and functions, but before that, Yang Kai really never thought that spiritual fruits could be born here. And this spiritual fruit, one can tell at a glance that it is a good thing that is of great benefit to the soul. Anyway, it couldn't be taken out, so Yang Kai naturally gave up this idea, picked up the spirit fruit and waited for a while, then directly put it into his mouth. After a few babbles, Yang Kai swallowed, and his expression immediately lifted. Because he could clearly feel that the spiritual fruit entered his stomach and turned into a burst of magical energy, which not only strengthened himself but also greatly relieved the uncomfortable feeling. Yang Kai estimated that if he had 3 or 4 more spirit fruits like this, he could completely make his discomfort disappear. "This thing, is there any more?" Yang Kai looked down at the purple raccoon, and communicated with the monster. Unexpectedly, the purple raccoon understood what he meant immediately, stretched out a small paw, pointed to the place where the giant python died below, and then pointed to the depths of Tianyao Mountain, creaking in its mouth. Yang Kai frowned and thought for a while, and said, "You mean, this giant python guards the spirit fruit, because you stole one, so it was chased here, and the place where it lives, there are more spirit fruit." Hearing this, the purple raccoon nodded his head fiercely. "Then what are you waiting for? Lead the way." Yang Kai waved his hand and shouted excitedly. The discomfort in the soul not only made him unable to absorb the source of the soul, but also affected his own state. If it can be resolved quickly, it will undoubtedly be a good thing. So Yang Kai couldn't wait to find more spirit fruits of that kind. It's a great event to drop pie in the sky, cool mobile phones are waiting for you. Follow up, click Chinese website official account, add friends on WeChat, add official account, enter QDread, and participate immediately. Everyone has a prize, now immediately pay attention to the QDread WeChat public account. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2218 Spirit Fruit. In Tianyao Mountain, in the jungle, a man and a beast galloped swiftly. The purple raccoon led the way, and Yang Kai followed closely behind. After contacting him for a while, and confirming that Yang Kai had no malice towards him, the purple raccoon didn't seem to be afraid of him anymore, and didn't even show signs of escaping. When leading the way, she would stop and wait for Yang Kai from time to time, waiting for him. When it got closer, it set off again. The actions of the purple raccoon are undoubtedly very targeted. During this journey, he has not encountered any other monsters, and he does not know what kind of ability it uses to avoid them. An hour later, the man and the beast came to a valley. The valley is surrounded by mountains. If you are not familiar with the road conditions, you may not be able to find it. The purple raccoon came not far from the entrance of the valley, and suddenly stopped moving forward. Instead, when Yang Kai came over, he stretched out his small paw and gestured towards the valley, and then he grabbed his own neck with one paw, pretended to be breathing hard, and rolled his eyes, and finally fell straight on the ground. Huh, Yang Kai frowned and said, "You mean, there is danger in the valley?" Zili turned over, stood up again, looked at Yang Kai and nodded. "Let me see." As Yang Kai spoke, he looked towards the valley, and after only one glance, he immediately understood what the danger Zili was referring to. The inside of this valley is actually full of thick green poisonous clouds. The color and shape of the poisonous clouds are the same as those ejected from the mouth of the giant python before. However, the area covered is too large. It covered everything in the valley, making it impossible for people to see the situation inside. "I'm curious." Yang Kai glanced at the purple raccoon with a smile. "What method did you use to steal a spirit fruit from here?" If the valley was covered by poisonous clouds all the year round, it would be impossible for the purple raccoon to enter it with only 9th level strength, so it would be impossible to steal the spiritual fruit. But in fact, it was the purple raccoon who stole a spiritual fruit, which provoked the giant python to chase and kill him, and fled all the way to Yang Kai. Facing Yang Kai's inquiry, Zili blinked and looked at him blankly. At this moment, it can't understand again. Pretend to be stupid. Yang Kai snorted coldly, but didn't ask the bottom line, but waved his sleeve robe, and with a buzzing sound, the Soul Eater cloud flew into the valley. Seeing this situation, the purple raccoon immediately waited expectantly. The previous scene where the cloud of soul-eating insects devoured the poisonous cloud at once, it watched clearly from the sidelines, so it naturally knew that the poisonous cloud in this valley was no exception. As long as the poisonous cloud is dispelled, the spiritual fruit inside will be at your fingertips. The fact is indeed true. Where the pitch-black insect cloud passed, the thick poisonous cloud disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye, and all the poison of spiritual consciousness was swallowed up by the soul-devouring insect, turning it into its own powerful capital. In less than half an hour, the poisonous cloud in the valley was swept away and completely disappeared. And devouring such a large amount of poisonous clouds, the soul-devouring demonic insects seemed to have gained a lot of benefits, and flew back with a buzzing, returning to Yang Kai's sleeves. "Let's go." Yang Kai greeted the purple raccoon, and walked towards the valley, as if he was visiting the back garden of his own home. The purple raccoon is also showing off his might, a fox pretending to be a tiger, with his calf striding forward, extremely arrogant. This is the fruit tree of the spirit fruit. Yang Kai went straight to the center of the valley, looking at a fruit tree that was about half a person tall and full of green. As early as when he was observing in front of the entrance of the valley, Yang Kai found this fruit tree, but at that time, the insect cloud hadn't cleaned up the poisonous cloud, so he didn't dare to come in rashly. The fruit tree exudes a distinctive spirituality, and there are still traces of some large-scale living beings around it. It seems that it should be left by the dead python. Yang Kai's eyes swept across the fruit tree, and his eyes suddenly brightened. He found that there were 5 such spiritual fruits on the fruit tree, which were exactly the same as the one that the purple raccoon gave him earlier. As a Daoyuan level alchemist, he has accepted all the knowledge inheritance of Gongsun Mu, and even Yang Kai can recognize something like Tamiao Baolian, but he really doesn't know what this kind of spiritual fruit is called. It can only be said that this spiritual fruit is a unique product of the world of Shenyujing, which has never been seen by the outside world. However, its effect is surprisingly powerful, especially suitable for warriors like Yang Kai who entered this place from the outside to practice. He was also unambiguous, and directly picked one from the fruit tree, threw it into his mouth, smashed it a few times, and swallowed it. In an instant, not only did his own discomfort ease a lot, it seemed that even the power of his soul was strengthened a little. Not bad, not bad. Yang Kai took off another one while talking, and ate it happily. Gudong. A sound came from the side. Yang Kai squinted and glanced at the purple raccoon squatting at his feet. This guy stared at a pair of round eyes, looking at Yang Kai pitifully. The previous sound of swallowing saliva, it was this guy the commotion came out. Even if you look at me with such sincerity. When Yang Kai spoke, he threw a third one into his mouth and said vaguely, "There is no extra for you." The purple raccoon's eyes suddenly dimmed, and he drooped his head, looking sluggish. "Hey," Yang Kai let out a long sigh, "forget it, I'll give you one." While speaking, he picked off all the last two fruits on the fruit tree, ate one by himself, and then handed the other one to the purple raccoon. The purple raccoon suddenly became energetic, his eyes were bright, he stood up straight, held up the fruit with his claws, took the fruit, then carefully sniffed a few mouthfuls, showing ecstasy, and finally stuffed it into his belly pocket with satisfaction, hidden like a baby. With the 4 spirit fruits in his stomach, plus the one that the purple raccoon gave him before, the discomfort in Yang Kai's body has been swept away at this moment, and he has become fierce again, and an inexplicable feeling in his heart, the feeling of being reborn. He glanced at the purple raccoon and laughed. The purple raccoon immediately covered his pocket with both paws, and looked at Yang Kai vigilantly, as if he was afraid that he would backtrack. "Who do you think I am?" Yang Kai snorted with a serious face. "Don't underestimate people, bastard, how can I get back what I sent?" The purple raccoon looked at him half understanding. "Little guy," Yang Kai looked at it with a smile again, "are you familiar with this place?" The purple raccoon was silent for a while, then nodded. "Then you lead the way. If you find something good again, let's just add 2 to 1 and make 5, okay?" Yang Kai looked kind and earnest. Speaking, he also used a provocative and bewitching expression. With a demeanor, he patted the pocket on the purple raccoon's lower abdomen. "As long as you cooperate with me, it will be a matter of time before you fill up your bag." The purple raccoon's eyes lit up when he heard it, and he became excited immediately. While squeaking, he turned his head like a chicken pecking rice. Without waiting for Yang Kai to issue any orders, it took the initiative to lead the way. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows and followed closely behind. The purple raccoon is indeed very familiar with the Tianyao mountain, and it also knows where there are good things, but most of these good things are guarded by some powerful monsters, just like the giant python, which is not something that the purple raccoon can do at all. The existence that can be provoked, so it can only look at the ocean and sigh, helpless. But with Yang Kai as a strong guarantee, it has no worries. You only need to bring Yang Kai to the place, and then let Yang Kai take action to solve the monster guarding the treasure. The next thing is naturally to distribute the spoils. Yang Kai is also counting his words. Every time he gets a good thing, he will give a little bit to the purple raccoon. As for whether it is 2 or 1 plus 5, it depends on how to understand it. In just 2 days, Yang Kai took the purple raccoon and swept across the lairs of many monster beasts in a radius of tens of thousands of miles. These spiritual fruits that grow in the world of the mirror are basically things that have an effect on the power of the soul. However, there are also some harmful ones. Yang Kai accidentally ate one, resulting in dizziness. He didn't recover for a long time. If there were no treasures such as the 7-colored warming lotus in his body, that one spirit fruit alone would have killed him. Took his life. After doing this, although Yang Kai had absorbed a lot of the source of the soul, the state of discomfort appeared again in the soul body. This state has little effect on oneself, but it can no longer allow Yang Kai to continue absorbing the source of the soul. Compared with Yang Kai, the soul-devouring insects have grown even more. After all, they have devoured most of the power of the soul. Since entering the world of Shenyu Mirror to today, in less than 10 days, the strength of the soul-devouring insects has almost doubled. As much as doubled. Moreover, Yang Kai faintly felt that these soul-eating worms of his seemed to be changing in an unknown direction, and he was now clearly aware that these soul-eating worms had become more ferocious, rebellious and unruly. Always ignored his orders. I don't know if it's good or bad. And the small pocket in the purple raccoon's abdomen was basically full. This guy is very strange. Although he got a lot of good things, he never eats them. It seems that he just has a desire to collect, and keeps stuffing the spiritual fruits distributed from Yang Kai into his pockets. In the end, it couldn't fit. It is not big. How big can the pocket be? Yang Kai finally had an upright reason to monopolize all the spoils. The purple raccoon didn't seem to care too much, and was still diligently leading the way, leading Yang Kai to sweep the Tianyao mountain in a carpet-like manner, as if he had become a coolie. At a certain moment 2 days later, in front of a cave entrance, Yang Kai stood there quietly, with the purple raccoon squatting on his shoulder. After these 2 days of getting along, Zili was no longer afraid of Yang Kai, but gradually became familiar with him. At this moment, the person and the beast were all focused, listening to the movement coming from the cave, with a concentrated look. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at woixiaowati. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation.